What's up and welcome back to another live stream with Gizmo Slip Tech. Today we're benchmarking the GT77 Titan right here. This thing's a monster. I got a bunch of benchmarks loaded up, drivers updated, BIOS updated. Everything is good to go, I believe. And I just want to point out the things that we're going to be doing are over there. They're right there in the top corner. We're going to try to go in that rough order for today's benchmarks. And we're going to be doing a bunch of these at QHD and 4K. So I don't know exactly how many benchmarks we're going to do today, but 15 different tasks, but some of them will be done twice because we're doing a QHD Plus so we can compare performance versus other QHD Plus laptops like the Scar 18, Blade 18, Predator Helios 18. And then we're also going to be doing them at the 4K native resolution. So all tests will be done at the 4K native resolution of the GT77. And then we'll also be doing a number of the tests in the QHD Plus, so that way people can do some comparison shopping as far as performance side by side. And I can also do some comparison benchmarks with that information as well. I see we have people hopping into the live stream. So if you have any issues, I'm just for the first time now streaming with the Blade 18 as the streaming host of the laptop. I have officially chosen it, at least for now. I don't know if I'm going to keep it long term, but I'm giving it a shot as a replacement for my laptop for this year. So I'm very excited about using that as well, but that's not really what this video is about, so I don't want to go too much into that. So far, I've been enjoying it, except for the screen flickering issue has happened more than I would like, and so I really hope a driver update comes through soon to stop the screen flickering from happening. So, without further ado, I believe we're ready to get this party started. Let me get the camera positioned in front, and we're going to go through all the settings we're going to be benchmarking with. Essentially, today we're going to be applying a tiny overclock. I don't want to do an overclock. I want to do an overclock, but the thing is, so the weird part for me is with the Scar 18, there's a tiny overclock automatically applied to the Scar 18 in manual fan mode. But in the GT77's case, there is no overclock aside from the factory overclock. So there's a part of me that thinks, oh, I should apply a slight overclock to be fair, but I'm going to use the default settings. There is a factory OC on the 4090, which does boost clocks above what the Scar 18 can do. I'm about to switch it into performance mode here. I just did. And I'm sure you guys can hear the fans kicking on now. So all of these benchmarks that we're going to be doing today is going to be done with maximum fans mode, extreme performance mode enabled, and there will be an undervolt, okay? I'm going to keep an undervolt on the CPU and GPU, but that's going to be the only thing pretty much. So let's go ahead and get everything turned on, and we're going to start with Cinebench R23 first. Let's do a basic CPU test. All right. There we go. And let's get everything focused. I believe we're good to go. Beautiful. What's up, Deucey Man and Nord Current? Welcome to the stream. Let's go ahead and see what we get with our CPU on our multi-score. We're going to do just a standard test for our initial test here. Now, when we do this, know that we have a minus 125 on the core voltage offset, minus 75 on the ring, and minus 125 on the efficiency cores, okay? So we've got ourselves an undervolt here. We're pulling 175 watts through the system, and our score was 34,262. Now, out of the box, we were not scoring quite this high. It was a little bit lower out of the box. It is. This camera is struggling right now with the refresh rate being so high. I don't know. I'm trying to get rid of it, but it's not wanting to. Nothing that I'm changing. I need to. Right now, this is an aperture priority mode. I need to change the mode. I don't know if I'll be able to or not. Let me mess with that once we get the 10 minutes started. So we got 34,262. Better scores are definitely possible with this CPU. So just know that this is not the ultimate level of performance on this chassis, especially if you were to provide a cooling pad, undervolt it further, set maximum fans, and if you had better silicon lottery, because the silicon lottery on this unit was not as good. I'm going to do another run here. We'll see what we get with a second run, and then we'll do a 10-minute test. Wolf says, I got my Scar 18 yesterday, and I love it. That's so great to hear, man. I'm glad. It's so exciting whenever you get a new laptop in. And I also got a new camera set up, the FX3 up there, and it is not going to overheat now. So we should have no more interruptions. Okay, so we got 34,745 for our CPU multi-score. I'm loving it. That is absolutely insane performance. That's almost as fast as an i9 13900K. Almost, not quite, but it's getting close. And if you tune this thing more, you might be able to even go beyond it. I don't know about beyond it, but especially if you tune an i9 13900K, you can even go further, you know, but still. This is getting approaching the stock level performance of a desktop CPU, and it beats an i9 12900K from last generation quite handedly. Okay, so let's run our 10-minute test. And let's see if I can change the shutter speed. How is that? Is that looking good? Okay. I mean, that looks pretty good. I like that overall. So the key thing to keep in mind with this CPU is that this thing will run very hot and very heavy for several minutes, like 2 minutes basically. And then it'll go down to 135 watts. So initially it'll draw in the first 50 seconds like 200 watts, 190 watts. And then it goes down to 152. And then after it hits thermal throttling, it'll drop down to 135 for like permanent, basically. And during this initial boost, the temperatures do hit like 95 degrees. It gets very spicy on the temperatures. I do think if you were to repaste this thing, you would definitely see even better performance and better temperatures. So I think the key to keep in mind when you're looking at this laptop is that this is not the full potential performance. If you're an enthusiast and you want to tune this sucker some more, you're going to see even better levels of performance than what I'm showing here. If you were to replace this with liquid metal, you were to do a cooling fan, you were to go into the BIOS and tune the power limits to be higher, the thermal throttle to go at 99 degrees instead of 95, maybe undervolt it further, and if you got luckier in the silicon lottery, I've seen scores above 37,000 with this unit. And I believe it may be possible to even get over 37,000 stably if it was tuned perfectly and you got a great silicon lottery chip. I don't think this unit that I got very high on the silicon lottery because the MSI GE78 actually was scoring a little bit better in Cinebench R23. So pretty interesting. Tenmei says, is there such a thing as too much FPS? That's funny. He has the camera. It may sound dumb, but I never really knew about thermals and throttling, so I always bought the highest specs and thinnest laptop I could find without even thinking. Your channel has been very helpful. Thanks so much, man. I'm glad I can be helpful. That's kind of my goal, right? I want to be as helpful as possible. So looking at our core clocks, we can see that our performance cores are doing 4.1 gigahertz. On average, they're doing about 4.2 to 4.05 to 4.2 on our averages. And for our E cores, we're averaging about 3.3. And I did restart this after the initial turbo boost was already down. So this average is not the average for the whole run. This is the average after we've reached thermal throttling. Or after we reached power limit throttling. You can see now we're down to 131 watts of power. And our temperatures are also in check at 84 degrees on the core temps and 92 degrees on the CPU package power for averages now these last couple minutes. So just knowing this level of performance and knowing how Silicon Lottery works, I can tell that this is just not the most optimal i9 chip, and yet this is still performing pretty well. But I'm confident we're going to see even better scores from other laptops simply because of the Silicon Lottery. So yeah, and potentially better thermal cooling solutions if they have liquid metal in them or on them, and depending on how well they can dissipate heat and all of that. So OpenFire says, I heard 7945 can get 34.5K without an undervolt at 120 watts. So OpenFire, I watched Notebook Check's video about the new Ryzen 7945 as well, and they did see a score of 34.5K in Cinebench R23, which is basically matching what we're seeing in the GT77. Now, AMD measures it at 120 watts, but you got to keep in mind AMD may not be measuring the wattage fairly or equally the same way that Intel does. So 120 watts with AMD might be equal to 140 watts with Intel. Usually AMD has lower levels of measurement, and I don't think Notebook Check mentioned that in their video, which was really kind of disappointing to me that they didn't know that. So it's not an apples-to-apples comparison with the same level of wattage. I would really want to see the exact same chassis with the same level of brightness and all of that, and then just different CPUs. And I would want to see an equalized amount of power coming from the wall during a Cinebench run. That would be a much fairer example of power efficiency. That said, yeah, that video did get me psyched on the new Dragon Range CPUs, especially if it can deliver high levels of gameplay performance, but the gameplay benchmarks that they showed didn't indicate that. So I don't think that it was a very clear test anyway, so I don't think we really learned anything about potential gameplay performance from that video. Other than that, it's probably going to be good or at least close to the i9, though this i9 13980 HX should, in theory, outperform the new Dragon Range in terms of maximum FPS, even if it's less efficient, at least according to them. But they also had a non-175 watt GPU in the Zephyrus Duo 16, so it was like a trade-off between the Dragon Range AMD CPU and the Intel CPU, and it was not a very good comparison. So I can't really draw any firm conclusions other than it's more power efficient and it has a lot of potential. And most importantly, it's going to give her, most importantly, the AMD Dragon Range CPU should deliver similar levels of performance for multi-core rendering, and close to the game level of performance, or at least in the same ballpark, right? So if it can deliver within, I think, 10% of what Intel does for both gaming and multi-core rendering, and then it can deliver twice the battery life by being more power efficient, then that's when I think the power efficiency, being more power efficient, especially on battery, if you need to take a laptop to go with you and you need to render and edit videos on the go on battery, I think an AMD CPU is going to make a lot more sense for some of those more mobile users. Yeah, because if the battery life is another 2, 3, 4 hours longer, and then the performance is about the same, or within a similar ballpark, the people that want more portability focus are going to want to switch to, or you're going to want to buy a Ryzen 9 7945HX instead of the i9 13980HK. But the people who are less mobility focused, that will be mainly keeping their laptop plugged into the wall, say most of the time, 80% of the time, they're probably going to still want to go for the i9 13980HX as long as they are getting it in the right chassis and they're getting it with enough power throughput, and it, depending on the game too, some games might actually like an AMD processor more than Intel processor. So that said, usually CPUs are a little less game engine dependent compared to GPUs. So we'll have to see. I'm really excited about my Zephyrus Duo 16 coming in and my Scar 17 coming in, because I really want to see performance with the i9 7945HX versus the Intel, the i9 versus the Dragon Range 7945. So many numbers, it's hard to keep track. But basically, I really want to see how the top Ryzen CPU matches up against the top Intel chip, and we're going to find that out very soon. So I'm certainly very excited. Now, I'm going to turn down the brightness of this display. Wow, it was already only 2/3 bright. This display is absolutely bonkers. The GT77 Titan display is amazing. It's just, I wish it had a faster response rate. 3070 Ti versus RTX 4080. Is there a big difference? Yeah, the 4080 is going to crush the 3070 Ti in terms of raw performance, without frame generation being considered. And then with frame generation, it's going to like probably double the FPS numbers at least, even if they're not necessarily true FPS numbers. But in terms of raw rasterization, a 3070 Ti, might score between 11 and 13,000 in that range of Timespy, and then a 4080 is getting like 19,000. So it's like a 50%, 40% gain in terms of raw graphics power. Okay, our 10-minute Cinebench R23 got 31,540 for a 10-minute test. Whew! That is spicy levels of performance. Not the top we've seen because of the Silicon Lottery, but still very, very good. I really wish, if I had any complaints about the performance, I just wish they had done liquid metal in the GT77. And then I also wish that they had raised the power limit then up to like 150, 155 for the permanent long-term power limit, because it's only 135, which is not as good as I would actually prefer. Or really it doesn't potentially really showcase the full performance potential of what this i9 can do, given unlimited potential at least. Okay, so very good performance. We are going to move on to, okay, I'm going to turn this brightness down just a little bit. Yeah, we'll go like that. That should be good. Okay. All right, so next up, we are doing Timespy. Whee! Timespy, then Port Royale, then we're going to do CrystalDiskMark. Keep in mind, this is just a Gen 4 NVMe, PCIe NVMe SSD. It's not a Gen 5 SSD, so I'm curious to see what kind of speeds we get with the Gen 4. I actually have not tested them. Michael asks, do you have any idea on the Scar 17 stream date next week? I don't know. It has not shipped yet, but it should be sometime here in March. Sometime in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we should get the Scar 17 to come in, and I'm really excited about it. BG says, I'm considering the 4080 version. Is that worth it for the GT77? Yeah, it might actually have better performance per dollar. It's hard to say. It's hard to say yet until we have some more tests, but basically the difference between a 4080 and a 4090, when everything is GPU limited, I found it to be 10%, when it was CPU and GPU limited combined. So if it was just GPU limited, I think it's going to be closer to 15-17% performance bump. And so the 4080 version of the GT77 was what, like 4100 or something, 4200, and I think it's 500 more for the 4090 version. So I think the performance gain you get with the 4090 version and 4080 version's about the same. So it's either one's going to give you a decent bang for the buck, comparatively speaking. Not necessarily great against the cheaper laptops out there, but you're also not getting an incredible display, mechanical keyboard, all that other stuff that you're paying the premium for. So let's go ahead and run Timespy. Let me make sure Afterburner is running in the background. And I believe Afterburner is already configured. All right, and it looks like it is. Good, good. And let's make sure the display is on. It is. Good, good. All right, and also, now that we're going to start the GPU stuff, I'm going to set everything back to stock because this is the way the laptop ships, but just know that we got over 23,000 when we did an overclock on the GT77. It was like 23.5 or something in that range, 23.3 or 4 or something. It was very good. And I could easily see someone going over 24,000 with the GT77 with more tuning. So let's go ahead and get this run started. I believe we are good to go now. Dennis asks, AMD or Intel, who's going to be better in esports games? So, Dennis, I think it's going to be neck and neck this year. It's going to be very close. We need to do actual testing to find out. There's no clear winner just from looking at the specs. Basically, Intel has had the lead in terms of desktop CPUs. And obviously, these i9 CPUs are excellent. In terms of esports performance per dollar, that's going to be where the real question is. And the simple fact is, for esports games, both Intel and AMD, all the way from the mid-range up to the upper range, perform really well in esports games. So it's kind of hard to go wrong. As long as your CPU is not being severely thermal throttled or severely power limit throttled, then regardless of which laptop you choose, you should be able to get, well over 100 FPS in basically every esports game out there. So, all right. So, taking a look, I want you to pay attention to our GPU temperatures. It is insane. You will see them probably not go above 65, maybe not even above 60 degrees. It's insane. It is absolutely incredible. Like the level of cooling this machine has is nuts. Now, I want to mention that our TDP numbers here for both the CPU and the GPU, they may not be like exactly perfectly accurate in my opinion. I think MSI calculates them a little differently. I think. Because when we were doing the test with the MSI GE78HX yesterday, we were seeing better performance in some games than even the SCAR 18 with a 4090. And yet it was pulling significantly less power draw in that CPU-bound game. So, and it was definitely more performance than the Strix G18, even though the G18 was also pulling more performance draw. So, interesting. So even though these numbers may go lower, maybe lower than what we saw in the SCAR, SCAR 18 and Strix G18, what we really want to be looking at is our FPS numbers right here. Okay, when we're doing these comparisons, because sometimes these TDP numbers can't be fully 100% relied upon to be a good representation of performance. Usually they're a pretty good indicator of whether things are working right, especially when you pair it up with the clock speed and whether the GPU is reaching 100% utilization. Those things are all so important, but just especially the CPU TDP number right there. That's the one that I'm like, skeptical of how MSI is reporting that number versus the performance we're getting versus what Asus is reporting for their number versus the performance we're getting It's just weird that if we're getting the same level of performance or maybe slightly better performance on the MSI with like 40 or 50 less TDP, something's not making sense. So not sure what it is yet. Not sure if MSI is underestimating or Asus is overestimating, but something's going on there. That's just something I noticed in doing these tests. Tan may ask, is there any backlight bleed on this device? No, there is no backlight bleed that I could find on the GT77 Titan. It is basically completely dark with a black background. So it's a fantastic display from a color, brightness, and backlight bleed and contrast level perspective. It's amazing. Okay, so this is the stock. No overclocks at all, but we do have an undervolt on the CPU score. And you can see we got 22,587 and then 15,891. A very good score, about 1,500 more than the SCAR 18 stock score. So, yeah, that's very good and very high levels of performance. There we go. Okay. So let's go ahead and pop over to Port Royale. See what we get in Port Royale. Guala says, I was able to undervolt my CPU to -79 for the SCAR 18. Is that the highest available? Will it make a difference? Yeah, that should make a big difference. Asus supposedly is going to release a BIOS that lets us undervolt up to -80. And I'm not sure, Guala, if you're talking about maybe the BIOS has already been released. Ooh, I should check on my Strix G18 and see if the BIOS has been updated now. Because if they did, that would be awesome. They're supposed to update it soon, and they're supposed to update it because of what we and other reviewers have given them feedback with. So I'm very curious to see the levels of performance. Suleiman says, glad to see you're back, man. Miss these streams and demo videos. Thanks, man. Wildfire says, I feel like you've been testing 4090s and doing 4090 live stream for a month. I wish all the reviewers like you, Dave T. Jerry, would get the 4060, 4070 stuff delivered already. So I got a 4071. We already did that video a few days ago. I have a 4060 that came in the mail a couple days ago, the Gigabyte G5. I just promised to do this video next, so I really wanted to do the Gigabyte G5, but I needed to get this one done first. But I've got the Gigabyte G5, and I'm going to get that set up, and we'll do an unboxing of that probably tomorrow. I'm really excited to see what the RTX 4060 can do and how good the display is on the Gigabyte G5. If it's a better display than what was on the Katana, then that's a clear winner in my book as far as which laptop I would pick. So we'll see. Gual says, the Asus BIOS is already released. I was able to do 79, but not 80. Okay, nice. Yeah, and it should make a difference, Gual. I think it will make a difference. BG says, which one would you pick, the GT77 with a 4080 or the Razer with a 4090? I would go with the Razer Blade 18 with the 4090. I actually made that choice because I ended up returning the GT77 I bought because the screen responsiveness is not fast enough for what I want. Because I'm an esports player, the Blade 18 has a faster 240 hertz display, which is much better for me. Because, yeah, like I said, I play Apex Legends pretty dang competitively, and I love that the Blade 18 can max out 240 hertz refresh rate, literally in the frame rate and in the refresh rate. So it makes the experience playing Apex Legends phenomenal. Wildfire, it's not your guys' fault. I just feel like there's some issue with supply chain getting all these machines to reviewers and retailers. The reason Wildfire is because they want the 4090s and 4080s to come out first and for consumers to hear about them first because there's a higher profit margin for NVIDIA for the 4080 and 4090. There's lower profit margins on the cheaper laptops like the Gigabyte G5. It only costs $1,100. Okay, so our Port Royale was 14,284. I'm gonna grab the SCAR results here as well. Pull it up. So Port Royale for the SCAR 18 got 13,583. So about 700 more points for the GT77. All right, it's time to load up CrystalDiskMark. Let's see what we get. Now, the Scar 18 did have two 1 terabyte SSDs in RAID 0, so it was pulling faster numbers than what we're seeing here. We got 10.7K for our read speed here, and we got 6.7 on the GT77 because we're not in RAID 0, which makes sense, and they're both PCIe Gen 4 SSDs, but this GT77 does have a Gen 5 SSD slot, and that sucker should be able to run like 13K approximately, depending on which Gen 5 SSD you get, maybe even more or less. The one I tested when I was at CES, I think did 12.5, 13K for that initial read speed, which is just an insane transfer speed. I mean, these speeds are also just really good. It's hard to complain, quite frankly. You know, like it's easy to complain. It's easy to find things to complain with, but there's no reason to really complain when this level of performance is going to deliver phenomenal transfer read-write speeds to where the user probably won't notice a difference between what this and the Scar 18 has, or even the Gen 5 SSD might provide, unless you're doing really heavy data files all the time, like maybe you're a video editor that does 8K videos or something. Don asks, how is the fan noise? Well, the GT77 is very loud on the fan noise. It's designed to be loud. It's got 4 fans. They pump out a lot of heat from the chassis, and it keeps the GPU and CPU cooler than any other high TDP laptop I've seen so far. These temperatures we see on the GT77 are much cooler than what we saw on the Scar 18 and Strix G18. That said, the performance is also slightly overclocked for at least the GPU. It's like another 200 base GPU clock, factory overclock, without any user additional overclock. When you add the user additional overclock, you can really see the extra performance difference, and yet the temperatures are still fantastic. Yeah. JG says, I think I might change to this laptop since my M1 Max has the same price, but it's downloading at 1/10 the speed the Scar 18 was downloading League of Legends at. What? LOL. Oh, that's the old chat. LOL. Okay. The best looking display, but with a 4060 or crappy display with 4090? What's the best looking display with a 4060? I'm not sure. William says, what fan profile are we in? We're in extreme performance fan profile with fans set to max. No overclocks on the GPU. Can you undervolt the GPU for the Scar 18 using MSI Afterburner? Yeah, I think you should be able to. Whether I suggest it or not, I don't think you really have to, but you can. You'll get a little better temperatures if you do it. I don't know, probably like 5 degrees less on the GPU with the same level of performance or similar level of performance. It might be as much as 10 degrees less, but I need to do real testing on that before I can give exact numbers. But okay. Reading chat. Nieberg says, can you test the Maui Redwood Forest? I'm not even sure what that test is. Is that a type of 3D mark? Or I'm not sure. Unknown Monkey, MSI are the ones so far the best in terms of performance and temps. Possibly. We're about to find that out today. I can't make that claim yes or no until I actually do these full tests. Okay, 6.7 and 4.9 for our CrystalDiskMark. All right. Well, I think it was still technically finishing the last one there, but it's close enough. All right, next. is Geekbench 6. Let's go. All right. All right, so we're going to run the CPU benchmark. And for the CPU, multi-core got 16935 on the SCAR 18. And for single core, it got 2843. So we'll have to see if this scores a little better or worse than what the SCAR 18 got. How would the performance be if the GT77 is connected to a 2K monitor? It should be excellent performance. I will be testing a bunch of the games today at QHD plus resolution. So we're going to see that. Because I want to be able to compare side by side today as we go through this what the SCAR 18 got in a bunch of these games. And I want to see if this GT77 can push out more frames or not. So I think it will push out a few more frames in almost every game, is my current prediction, but maybe not. I'm mainly saying that based on the Timespy score being, noticeably higher. And we don't have an overclock on this thing. I'm sure it would push even more frames out if we overclocked it. So, were you able to run Red Dead yesterday? On which laptop, Tanmay? We should be running it today on the GT77. I did test to make sure it's running. Are you talking about on the GE78? I did not try again on that, so. Geekbench does not max all threads on the x86 CPUs. Interesting. Well, we're just doing it just to see what we get. I don't really put much stock in Geekbench 6 as a benchmark tool. Maybe I should stop doing it, but I know some people want to see the results, so that's why I'm doing it. It only takes like a couple minutes to do it, so might as well. That's exactly my plan. Get a GT77 and a nice external 2K monitor. Nice. I'm hearing the blades are dealing with a flickering issue. That is correct, Michael. I am dealing with that flickering issue. Today when I was in Photoshop setting up the thumbnail for the GT77 live stream, I was flickering a little bit, which is very confusing because I am in dedicated GPU only mode and I'm still flickering. So, okay, our single core score, 2,812, is just a little bit behind the SCAR 18, which got 2,843, so 30 points more for the SCAR. But our multi-core score on the SCAR was only 16,930. So this got about 400 points more, or 350 points more. No, 400 points more on the GT77. Running our GPU compute, let's see what we get. Guala says, what do you think about disabling CPU boost for gaming laptops to have better temps? What are the pros and cons? Is it worth it? Guala, it just depends on if you're playing CPU-bound games or not. In general, I don't think it's worth it. But it's one way that you can control the temperatures on the laptop, so it's never really pushes the temps too high. Now, the SCAR 18 got 93.5. Wait. That's what I have written down, but we got 213,000. So don't know why the score is so different on here. It's obviously not, the test was not done the same. So I guess, is it supposed to be Vulkan? Is that why? Let's try the Vulkan version, see what it gets. Wildfire says, is the RTX 4070 respectable enough for PlayStation 5-like graphical performance in most games? It seems to be getting trashed by people, but the 4080, 4090 are 300 euros minimum in Europe. Yeah, I think the 4070 it's respectable if you get it in a budget-oriented system. There are some very poorly priced 4070s out there. Don't buy the overpriced 4070s. You got to think of the 4070 more like a replacement for the 3060, and you really don't want to pay, I think, more than $2,000 for a 4070. All right, so we got 163,000 with our Vulkan score. I don't know. Cool. Well, those are done. Let's move on to Dying Light 2, our first game benchmark. I'm really stoked on this. Let's see how this sucker performs against the competition. So, this is fun. Might have to restart Steam. It appears to be malfunctioning. Superhero says, what's the plan today? I'm just joining now. So, Superhero, the plan is, you see all those benchmarks in the side of the screen? I'm not sure if you can see those still. You should be able to, I think. Those are the tests we're going to be doing. We're moving on to Dying Light 2, so we're on our first game test. All right, Dying Light 2. So, it's amazing how vibrant the screen is when it's only at 50% brightness. Pretty incredible. Johan Giba, can you please test more RTX 4060 laptops? Yes, I will be testing one, I believe, tomorrow. Gigabyte G5. The goal is to test it tomorrow, at least. We'll do an unboxing, benchmarking test. Okay. Here we go. All right, so we're going to start with 4K. Yes? Yeah, so we're in 4K already. We're just going to keep it at 4K. All right, so we'll run this on DLSS on quality. NVIDIA Reflex is enabled. Frame generation is on. This is probably how I would play this game. I might set DLSS down to balanced or performance if I'm not getting the 144 hertz refresh rate, but let's go ahead and save these settings. And let's benchmark. Dun dun dun! All right, I gotta press 9 at the beginning of this because this game does not measure frames properly. Is a 4090 laptop worth it? Blubbers, it just entirely depends on which 4090 you're talking about. Some of them are not going to be worth the extra money, and some of them will be worth the extra money. So it's really going to vary a lot. All right. So we're doing 90 frames per second here at 4K, and this looks gorgeous. This looks really, really good. Yeah, our temps are also excellent. Our CPU temp is 60, our GPU temp is 59. I mean, as far as temps perspectives go, this is like a desktop almost. It's almost, in terms of temperatures. What are my thoughts on the Flow X16? I think it has tremendous potential. If you need something that's very, very portable in a thin and light form factor, and then you also want to potentially have more performance, I really like it from that perspective. So, yeah, I think the Flow X16 is an excellent option for a lot of people. Tanmay says, is this one of the top 3 displays you've seen this generation? For casual gaming, absolutely. It's the best one I've seen for casual gaming. For esports gaming, no. I can't recommend it for esports gaming. But that's, so it depends on the type of gamer you are. So in this title, I probably would put the performance or DLSS down to balanced, maybe even performance, because it's 4K. So it upscales really, really well. All right, so we ended up getting 86 FPS, 45, 86, 45 for our 4K test. Let's drop this sucker down to QHD and see what we get. So the Scar 18. The Scar 18 got 138.45 at QHD. So we're looking to beat 138. All right, so DLSS on quality, frame generation enabled. And I guess I want to make sure we set to high quality ray tracing. And we want to set this back to quality. And we should already be on that. That was the presets we were already on, I believe, so. But I'm just double checking to make sure, sir. Okay. Here we go. DLSS on quality, QHD plus. 138 is the number to beat. Which one's more powerful, a 3070 140 watt or an RTX 4060 75 watt? In terms of raw rasterization, I think the 3070 might beat the 4060 by just a little bit, maybe. But the 4060, if you factor in frame generation in the newer titles that feature it, it's probably gonna do better. I don't know. Interesting. So far, we're only hitting 122. Interesting. The Scar 18 coming through clutch here. Beating the GT77 so far. I believe this test was done correctly. But it makes me want to make sure that all the settings were the same. I'm just going to go double check.
I just realized you guys can't see the full screen. All right. Bingo. All right. Bada bing, bada bing.
That was the live
try to
stream
make Geekbench. Geekbench quality. Second. Okay. And DLSS on. I want to point out frame generation. We're going to run frame generation on any on it. So that's the way I think I'll be testing the games going forward. I can run some of these games without frame. I believe is the best way to benchmark it because that's the way I think most gamers are. Let's do the benchmark. Now, one thing I do want to point out.
Okay, I believe everything was set correctly.
Tool doesn't seem to be adding up the frame rates correctly, so we're going to be using.
Okay, so we're getting higher frames now. 143.
MSI Afterburner benchmark frame rate.
I don't know if the average is going to be able to catch up with what the Scar 18 had.
I imagine the Dying Light update will fix that.
It did not. So 128.79. Interesting.
All right, so here we go. We're getting our averages. We're averaging 143. You can see that in Dying Light, they're saying that we're only averaging
whether it says DLSS was set to
a little over
quality
60.
or not.
Like,
because I want to make sure that I set the set it to the great settings.
Def 30. I think it's ending here soon. 30 experience for our Dying Light 2
Yeah,
bench.
it was all set. It was all set correctly. Super interesting. Ooh, Scar 18 did a little better. So 128.79. You guys can still hear me 2 times right now. Test, test. I believe you are hearing the live stream is what that was. Okay, so interesting. Interesting result for our first game. That might have, it might be because of CPU bounding limitations and the Asus has a higher power limit that may have helped give it better performance in Dying Light 2. All right, so next up is Dead Space. Let's go. Apple says, I don't hear you. What? Is the audio okay, guys? Let me know if the audio is okay or not. So, Dead Space is loading up. Audio's okay. Okay, good. Jonas says, hello, are you going to review the ROG Z13 with the new external 40 series XG Mobile? I would love to. I would love to, but I don't know if they'll send me one. We'll have to see. We will have to see. Okay, so going into our settings. Video options. 4K, we're going to set it to 144 hertz. Beautiful. We're going to go to our quality settings. We're going to set everything to ultra. Yep. And DLSS is on quality. No dynamic scaling on the resolution. So ultra settings, 4K. Let's see if this game is playable, see what kind of frame rate we get. I'm excited. Is the Titan worth $65.99? And Martin and Vitamin K say no. There are a lot of reasons why this might not be worth that much, and reasons why it might be worth it for you. I think it's going to depend on the user, and I say that because this has an incredible display. It's one of the best displays you can get on any laptop, period. It's got some of the best cooling we've seen on any laptop, period. But we're trying to see what the performance is like, to see how well this thing benchmarks. And I want to see what it does in actual games, because even if the specs are the highest on paper in a lot of ways, I want to make sure that the actual game performance is in line with what we should expect from the most powerful laptop, So in terms of if you're on a budget and you think it's like, oh, should I save the money and go for a cheaper laptop? I think most people are going to be happier saving their money. But there are plenty of people that would want to spend the extra money for this gorgeous display, amazing mechanical keyboard. Yeah. So it's going to vary from person to person. That's basically what I'm trying to say. All right, so here we are. 4K, ultra settings, DLSS on quality. Here we go. The temps are impressive. Yeah, they are very impressive. And this is, notice that we're pulling 75 watts on the CPU and 170 something watts on the GPU for a lot of it here. And that basically matches the 250 watt rating claimed by MSI, but it's not as high as what we saw on the Scar or Strix G18, right? So that's the curious question thing, All right, so we got 84 and 50. 84 for our average, 50 for our 1% low at 4K. It's obviously going to be very playable. This looks very good in terms of playability perspective here at 4K. And that's really the main thing we're looking for on this laptop. Can we play games at 4K with DLSS on quality? If we can, then that's awesome. That's awesome sauces. Awesome saucelness. That's awesome saucelness. But we're also today trying to compare this against the Scar 18 and seeing what kind of performance we can expect. What kind of performance can we expect for the extra money? Can we get any extra performance for the extra money? That's a huge question mark right now. And in terms of raw gameplay, what's the performance look like? Yeah. I'm going to get the G18 for 2,000 less. Yeah, if you're after bang for the buck, the GT77 is not your guy. The GT77 is for people who have extra money and they want to get a laptop that has a mechanical keyboard and like an insane display. And oh, we're hitting a 144 max frames per second right now. We're getting locked to that 144, which is interesting. First time I've seen that on any of these laptops. Okay, so the Scar 18 in this test, all right, are you ready? It got 112. All right? 112.58. So 112 is the number to beat. Let's see what we get. And I mean, we're already doing 120. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get higher and higher as we go through this. Yeehaw. In Dead Space, Scar 18 has 73 GPU temp and 93 CPU temp. Oh, yeah. So this has 7 degrees cooler on the GPU and about 20 degrees cooler on the CPU. So that's another area where even if you're getting similar frames per second, maybe the temps are better and the laptop's more sustainable for, like, you know, let's say you want to keep the laptop 6-10 years. You know, you're going to get longer, better performance levels out of a laptop that stays cooler. Okay, so we got 130. 130. That is 18 frames per second better than the Scar 18 in the same test. Shabalaboom, shabalagoo. Same 1% low of 54, though. Interesting. Oh, actually, 58 was the 1% low. So the Scar 18 had slightly better 1% low. First win. So right now with the Scar 18, we're at 1 win for the Scar 18, 1 win for the GT77. Well, actually, if you count Timespy and Cinebench, you're looking at 2 wins for the GT77 as well. So anyway, all right. So moving on to our next title, Warzone 2. Gonna type my password in. Oh yeah. On this delicious mechanical keyboard. Oh yeah. Every time I type on this thing, I'm like, I can type so confidently knowing that I'm hitting the keys I'm expecting to hit. That's what I love about the mechanical keyboard. The feedback is incredible. Warzone is a CPU nasty game. Yeah, it's pretty demanding on CPUs. Wildfire asks wants my opinion on cooling pads. Yeah, I think cooling pads can be very helpful for some laptops. I think it would be very helpful for the GT77. So especially any laptop that struggles to get enough airflow through the bottom of the chassis, which will be able to help some laptops more than others. So it just depends. But in general, I think cooling pads will take at least 3 degrees off of your CPU and GPU temps, maybe up to 10, depending on the laptop. Overwatch 2 is very optimized. I get 500 FPS on low settings using the 4090. Yeah, you do. It is very crazy. I'm not even going to test Overwatch anymore because I already know we're going to get maximum frame rates no matter what. Just give me a second. I'm going to sign my soul away to Call of Duty here. Okay, so we are going to go. We're going to need to set everything. We're going to need to set all the graphical settings to low. That's how we test Warzone, so. The best solution is just to move to Siberia and play outside with these laptops. Perfect cooling. Oh yeah, there you go. Easy peasy. Just live somewhere in the north, open the window, let the snow come on in. All right. Can we try World of Warcraft? We're not going to be trying World of Warcraft today, but I can guarantee you World of Warcraft is going to play incredibly well. The trickiest part of World of Warcraft would be going on high amounts of players in like raids. That's the only part where you might not get like insane levels of frames per second. So you gotta, I guess, and so it makes it hard to test. As someone who doesn't play World of Warcraft, I don't have a character that I could just pop in and go to a raid with. So I wish there was an easy way. Wow, there's so much crap for me to click through here. Oh my goodness. And then it wants me to buy a $100 battle pass. Okay. All right. Can I not? I don't want to do that. All right. Graphics settings. So we're at 144 hertz. We have VSync off. Frame rate limit. We want unlimited. You can turn on HDR. Ooh, nice. Oh, wow. That made the screen... Whoa, that made the screen punchy as crap. Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Let's try this with HDR. So there's the HDR display on the GT77 coming into play there. Let's go to quality. We've got DLSS. We're going to set that to quality setting. All right. We are going to set textures on high, texture filtering on high, and everything else we want to be on low. Lowest possible settings for everything else. Terrain memory. I don't think we're going to want texture streaming. So basically I'm trying to set everything. Is there not a preset I can do that's like, there you go, minimum. I want everything on minimum. I just want to be able to click one button and then everything's set. Okay, so minimum preset, DLSS on quality. Let's see what we get for our frames per second. Which one? We don't want to do shoot the ship. What is it? DMZ Warzone? I wish there was like solo. Just a solo battle royale. Warzone 2 battle royale. Play. I believe that's what I want. Let's... Resurgence quads. Where is there not... Battle royale solos. Wow, they make it hard to find. I have never had to click on more things in a game to get into a match in my life. I'm not over-exaggerating. I had to like agree to like 30 different menus just to start a match. Oh my god. Dujor says, I wonder how the next Elder Scrolls game is going to benchmark. I don't know. It's probably going to be demanding. Skyrim, back in the day when it launched, was very demanding. But nowadays, I mean, it's not demanding at all, really. So, super easy to run now. Why doesn't Windows offer display stretch mode when you can stretch 16:10 display to full screen when watching videos? Depending on the game and application you're in, it does offer that, Guala Guala. It just depends. Eric says, MSI 15.6-inch 4070 or Asus ROG Scar 153080. Both are $1,500 on Newegg. Which one would I go with? I would... Jeez, I would go Scar 15 probably. Yeah, if I was deciding between a 3080 Scar 15, the main advantage for the MSI 4070 is going to be the the frame generation on the 4070. Some games are really going to have a lot better performance on the... Wow, this HDR to screen is so freaking vibrant. It's crazy. So the main advantage for the Scar 15 is going to be premium, more premium build quality and better display. Probably if you're talking about the MSI Katana 15 at least. So it's really going to vary a lot. Okay. So let me turn the sound up. Well, we're dead already. That was a quick match. All right, so I'm starting the average there. I don't know what happened to our sound. Our sound is oddly quiet. I'm not sure. Well, we're not really focused on sound right now. I don't want to troubleshoot that. We're looking at our performance is our goal here. Are there small desks available that can hold what? Oh, just for holding your PC? Probably. Okay, so we need to pick a city that we can run through. All right, I like this bridge at Zarqua Hydroelectric. Let's go in the middle of the map here. Can I see? Okay, I can see it. Let's go ahead and jump. Okay, so we're hitting our... I just hit the refresh button again. I probably pulled my parachute way too early. Can I cut it and then pull another parachute? Oh my god, I'm just gonna die right now. So we're playing at 4K and we're still pushing 120 frames. I'm curious what we get when we end up on the ground. All right, so we're gonna start at this. Here we are. We're starting at the front of this yellow truck. Stand on this line. We'll run down this corridor and see what we get. What? Okay, so we're running. 149. We're averaging more than 144 frames per second on this 144 hertz display. That is pretty awesome to see. Bam, 149 100 for our 1% lows. Wow. You guys couldn't see it? I don't know why you wouldn't be able to see it. Sorry if it wasn't on the right one. Oh, it was on my face, wasn't it? Okay, so here we go. All right, sorry. Let's do that test again. I'm so sorry, guys. I was confused by what you meant. I had to check the stream window to understand. All right, so here we are. We're at this bridge. We're gonna run across this bridge. We're getting 149 FPS at 4K in Modern Warzone 2 Battle Royale. Very, very impressive levels of performance, obviously. So now, if we can, I'd like to go ahead and do the same test, but at At some point, I'll try to do other tests on other laptops in this exact same bridge run across area. All right, so let's go ahead and change our settings if we can. Things are blowing up near me. I might die, but... Okay, so we're at 2560 by 1600. Everything else is still the same settings. Wow, we are basically CPU bound. We're getting lower FPS now at 2560 by 1600. It's like identical FPS, basically. Which, it shows that you're almost entirely CPU bound. Oh, there's a player. There's a player. Oh my god. How'd you not die? Jesus criminy. Apparently the guy was AFK. All right, we gotta try this again, cause yeah. All right, here we go. All right, so starting again, and we're running. 153 FPS right now. I mean, this is so interesting that at low settings we become CPU bound. And this is where, you know, the battle between AMD and Intel is going to get very interesting. Because in a game like this, when you're CPU bound, what's the 1% low going to be like with the Intel i9 versus the Ryzen Dragon Range CPU? So, oh, I just threw a grenade. Run. Okay, can I climb this? How do I climb this? Is it, oh, I just press up. Okay, here we go. All right, he had a P90. Let's go with this. We'll grab that. Grab that. Okay, cool. The GPU, yeah, look at our GPU wattage. It's only 115. We're only 70% GPU utilization. So you could definitely turn the GPU graphics up a lot and not notice probably any... You probably would not notice any degradation in quality. I don't know. Whoa, our HUD minimap there is freaking out. I don't know why. I'm guessing we're playing against some bots right now. Hey, we got a crosshair on our gun now. Yee! Wait, this is a shotgun. I don't want a shotgun. Oh my goodness, what is this? Oh. Oh my gosh. What am I in right now? Why are people going crazy at me right now? There is some advantage to where I am or something that people want to come here? Watches are going up and down a lot. Yeah, that's going to be because of whether we're in a CPU bound environment or whatnot, depending on where I'm aiming too. Okay, there we go. We got finally. But we're hitting, the most important thing is we're hitting over our over the frame rate of the refresh rate. So that's very good, you know? All right, so we're in the gulag now. We're gonna have to fight someone. Yee! We won! We go back! Are the Blade 18 fans quieter than all the other laptops, including the GT77? So the GT77 can be quite quiet. It doesn't have to be loud. That's the important thing you gotta keep in mind. I saw a player running across this thing, so we're gonna go try to fight this guy. Where'd he go? Okay, I want to change our settings back to 4K and see what we get. See if we still have just as much frames per second still. So I've just refreshed the frame rate. We're getting still just as high of frames. It definitely looks a lot better without having, you know, not down resing to the wrong aspect ratio. This person's running around like a chicken with their head cut off. Wait, did they die? Ah, another real player. I do have the Blazer Blade 18 running in the background and my regular fan for the room fan. That's pretty loud. But the loudest fans by far is the GT77. Okay, so there's Warzone 2. Basically getting around 150 to 154, 55. Next up is Cyberpunk 2077. Let's go. Hee. It sounds loud from here. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that the audio is kind of picking up. When I'm not talking, it kind of changes the ambient sound to pick up the fan noise more and more. Maybe 64 gigs of RAM makes more difference than the 32 RAM in the SCAR. I don't think that the Warzone needs more than probably 20 gigs of RAM. I have to check. I need to check. Let me see. I don't have the CPU RAM pulled up here, but I don't think it's going to need that much RAM in general. So, if anything, I would think the SCAR RAM being a higher speed RAM would actually help the performance a little bit more. Yes, there is an undervolt for the CPU. I showed the undervolt at the start of the live stream. It's like minus 125 on the performance cores, minus 75 on the E-cores. So it's not as severe as what we were doing before. But full screen 4K. And ray tracing on Ultra, DLSS on Quality. All right. Let's go and run that benchmark. Niebuhr, we're not going to do a random benchmark that I don't know. Sorry, man. I need to look into it first, but I'll try to look into it. See if it's worth it. Probably not worth it unless there's high demand for it. But anyway. Okay, so 4K. DLSS on Quality, frame generation enabled. We're pushing over 60 frames per second. So it's obviously going to be playable at 4K, though. With a game like Cyberpunk, I would probably want to go more than 60 because you have a lot of aiming and high-speed reactions in the gameplay. There's a lot faster RAM than that, Vitamin K. There's some 6400 that XMG is going to be putting in their laptops. I still have to finish this game, but I'm busy trying to keep up with Fortnite quests. Yeah, I enjoyed playing Cyberpunk 2077 all the way through. I've completed the storyline. I still have some more side quests I can do in the game. Like there's different regions inside the city, and you can fight like the crime bosses basically. So I need to do that. Sweet. So 6438. It's going to be very playable at 4K. But it's time to see what the Scar 18 got at QHD. 116.46 for the Scar 18 at QHD Plus. Let's find out if the GT77 can outperform the Scar 18 or not. The temperature of this laptop is much cooler than the Scar. Yes, that is correct. We're getting very good temps on this machine right now. So that is something to keep in mind for sure. 2560 by 1600. Everything else is still the same. Let's go ahead and run the benchmark. Mitchell says, if I wanted a 4090 laptop with the quietest fans in auto mode while gaming, what would you say is the best? Well, I would say the GT77 or the GE78 both had really good fan noise in auto mode, like balanced mode. The performance of the Blade 18 is pretty good in quieter fan modes as well. Honestly, I think almost any of them can reach a good balance of performance versus fan noise if you know how to tune them correctly or use the right fan profile. So to know precisely which one is the very best is going to be difficult. But I'm guessing probably the GT77 would probably be able to do the highest level of wattage with the quietest overall fan noise while still maintaining reasonable temps, would be my guess. I don't know. So right now we're doing 80 watts on the CPU pretty much nonstop and jumping around up to 175 on the GPU wattage, 155, 162. It did go up to 170 for a moment there. It's interesting. We're seeing some drops on the wattage, kind of jumping around. And most importantly, the Scar 18 had much higher CPU wattage. So in terms of actual performance, that might be affecting the numbers. So the Scar 18 got 116, and this one got 112. I'm thinking the CPU wattage is very important here. And I'm curious if there might be a way to boost the performance in games like Cyberpunk by maybe disabling dynamic boost. So the GPU gets locked at 150 watts. And then the CPU is free to go to a higher level of wattage. Now, our temperatures in the CPU were much better. And that's probably because of the lower cap on the CPU wattage. But our actual performance here in Cyberpunk was several less. So Scar 18 got 116. I know the Blade 18 in this game got 120, but the Blade 18 was also overclocked when we did that test. So can't really say it's an apples to apples comparison when there's no overclock on this one. And I mean, the Scar 18 had a slight overclock as well, given the, but it's the default overclock. And the GT77 has a factory overclock, but it's not like, I'm talking about when I'm talking about overclock, I usually am talking about additional boost clocks above whatever the default is. All right, so I know some people will want to also see 4K. We're going to jump over and we're going to do none of this stuff. We're going to do no frame generation, no ray tracing, no DLSS, 4K raw rasterization, okay? Let's see what we get if you just were to play this game with none of the extra NVIDIA marketing extra features, right? So let's see. What mode would I use this what mode are we using right now? We're using extreme performance mode, which is maxes out the fans and should provide us really high levels of performance. So, wow. 4K, no ray tracing, no DLSS. We're getting 47, so it's still playable, but that really shows the value that adding DLSS and frame generation can bring. One interesting thing is, you know, I think with frame generation, you actually get more boosts to the frame rate at lower resolution than higher resolutions. So, the huge difference in vendor BIOS and performance difference is frustrating when it comes to comparing these laptops. Performance changes so much from details like CPU wattage profiles. Yeah, it does. 47 FPS on a laptop, though, is insane performance. Yeah, it is. It's really good performance considering we don't have DLSS down-resing anything. We're in everything ultra except no ray tracing, no DLSS, and no frame generation. So it's obviously very impressive, and the image is like supremely sharp. I can see just a little bit of those micro stutters with the 23 here, or 1% lows. So 47.85, very impressive performance, but I don't know why I wouldn't want to play this game with DLSS on quality if it was me, and frame generation enabled. So yeah, I'd be shooting for that plus 60 FPS, you know, at least. Honestly, let's try a test, a realistic test. What does it take to get Cyberpunk to 144 hertz at 4K? Let's try performance. All right. Ray tracing on Ultra. Performance DLSS. 4K. Let's see what we get. Classical Technology says, I installed the newest BIOS 08 on GT77 today. For some reason, stock Cinebench went down with CPU performance. Newest update addresses CPU power, it seems, this morning. I'm not sure what which CPU power issues you're talking about. Are you talking about like in games, like right here with only hitting 75 watts? I don't know. I think we are seeing some CPU bottlenecking even here at 4K with our GPU utilization dropping down below 99%, down to into the low 90s. So, I mean, obviously we're still getting good GPU utilization over 170 watts quite frequently. I am noticing occasional kind of little bit of hitching. I don't know if that's like, I feel like it should be a little smoother. Like there's just little you know, kind of things going on. I don't know. I think we do see that with some of the other laptops though. Our 1% lows are very good at 39 though. So I don't think that's that big of a deal to worry about. I don't know. And our GPU clock speeds are occasionally seeing little dips and drops. I wonder if that's related at all. Okay, so we got 90.8. And that was with frame generation enabled, DLSS on performance, and then everything else maxed. That's probably how I would play this game. If I was setting this game up to play it. 90 frames per second in Cyberpunk is great. It's going to be good enough for aiming in a single player game, and it's going to be very fluid, smooth gameplay. So that's probably what I would do. MJM wants to see 1080p. Okay, we'll try 1080p. This will be the only game I'm going to test at 1080p because I don't think very many people want to see 1080p on this kind of laptop. But I don't want to get bogged down doing too many different tests. Okay, so ray tracing on Ultra, frame generation enabled, quality enabled. Wow, our overlay is all messed up, but we're just going to run it. I'm not going to worry about changing anything. Classical says, thanks for all these awesome content on all the laptops, by the way. Been watching every single one. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Nice. I got to say that the Warzone looks really juicy on this HDR display. Like, it looked super punchy and vibrant. So if you're a Warzone player, it's something to consider. Okay, so 1080p, we're pushing 147 frames so far on average. And we're definitely running into some CPU bottlenecking. Notice our GPU utilization dropping down to like 70% there for a little bit. Echo the comment. Here, this content is fire. Keep it up. Thanks, Chris. 540p resolution on a 4090M. Yeah, I know. We're definitely getting some CPU bottlenecking, especially with all these NPCs running around. It's not recommended, in my opinion, to be playing this game at 1080p on this laptop. Don't do this. This is just for sake of benchmarking. And we're still seeing quite a bit of random stuttering. I don't know why. 181 FPS on average. Pretty insane. Pretty insane. Okay, so there's our Cyberpunk benchmark. Next up, we're doing Fortnite. Are you guys ready for some Fortnite? We gotta go to Epic Games. Classical says, I'm really liking the GT77. The Scary team was great too, but I prefer the build on the GT77. Scary team performed well and screen was decent. Yeah. I love the mechanical keyboard on the GT77. If you don't need to move it very much, it's awesome. And I love typing on it. I feel so confident knowing that the keys I'm pressing are the keys I'm pressing. You know, like when you're typing in your password to log into a website and you're like, I'm not sure. I might have fat fingered that key press. Well, with the GT77, you know every single key you press a lot more easily. So I really love that. And then I absolutely love the display quality. I just wish it had a faster response rate to the display. And I'm not talking about 144 hertz. I could live with 144 hertz if I had to. I'm talking about like the actual like responsiveness in the midst of gameplay. It's just not quite as fast as what you get on a QHD 240 hertz. I don't know exactly the reasons behind it, but it's not amazing for esports games. Just a little bit too much of a delay, and it causes just slight ghosting. I mean, it's not terrible, but most casual players would not even notice the increased response rate delay, but me being an esports junkie, I need that. I need the maximum, you know? Maximum response rate, please. Okay, so we're going to go lowest settings, lowest preset. We want 3D resolution to be 100. All right. Low preset resolution 100. We're at 4K. That should be good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to change here. I don't think so. All right, and this game still looks pretty dang good on low settings too. It's not like it looks bad. Bald said, I heard the 4090M with a 12,93980HX reaching performance of the 13700K with the 4070 Ti. Is that true? Yeah, so yes, that's true, Balds. We are basically matching performance with the 4070 Ti, maybe even surpassing it in some ways. Basically matching like a RTX 3090 or 3090 Ti in that ballpark. And then for desktop CPU performance, it's like an i9 12900K. Pretty close to that. Or like a slightly downclocked i9 13900K. A little bit downclocked from that. So, yeah, it's pretty insane. Okay, do I have any emotes? I'm not cool with this. I'm not cool enough. I don't have any emotes. Whee! What happens if I fall off? Oh no. It's just a loop. Wow, these speakers are a baller. They sound really good. All right. So our goal is 144 frames per second in this game. We'll see if we can actually pull it off. Right now it's not quite doing it. We're at the full 4K resolution right now. Oh, there's a lot of people coming in to land in this area. We gotta hope for a gun. Hey, we got a gun. All right, so now that we're landed, I'm gonna go ahead and reset the counter. All right, so looks like we're gonna hit right at 144 in that ballpark at least. I like the way they did the swimming mechanics. I just want to be able to build some stuff, like I want to be able to go up this ramp. Oh crap. Yeah! Oh, I don't want that. We want... Wait. I think we want this. And then we want this together with that. And that should give us full shield. What was that sound? What the heck is that guy doing? Oh, it's a Scar. I'll take an assault rifle. I like the movement mechanic changes to Fortnite. They improved the movement. Oh my god. I can hear him. He's underneath me. No. Okay, so we ended up with 142 FPS. That's excellent. While we're here, let's try changing our settings to QHD plus for our resolution. Oh no. We can't change it to 16 by 10 resolution. No, don't shoot that guy. I think you're talking about the other guy. Okay, so I have to actually change the screen resolution, I think, here to 2560 by 1600. All right, and now can I change it? What the heck? Why can't we change the resolution to match? So weird. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and exit the game. I'm gonna try restarting the game so we can go in at the right resolution. Because I want to be able to get, a comparable benchmark with the Scar 18, so. Clark says it's on low quality preset. That's correct. But it's still 144 frames per second at 4K with a laptop. I still think that's very good. I gotta say, after we've been playing several games in a row now, the wrist rest on the left is just getting a little bit warm. It's not like hot or anything, but it's just becoming noticeably warm. Okay, let's see if our resolution is better now. It is not better. Oh! We did windowed full screen and it went to the right resolution. Okay, thank goodness. All right. Whew. Okay, and so in Fortnite at QHD plus resolution, we saw 291 frames per second. Right around that island area. So I'm curious to see what we get now that we've lowered the resolution dramatically. I mean, it's a huge difference in resolution between QHD plus and 4K, so. Nice, we're hitting over 300 frames during the starting area at least. Oh my god, the fan sounds. Yeah, we have the fans on maximum, but you don't have to play with the fans on maximum, right? You don't have to play with the fans on max. You could play with the fans on medium or low or whatever. Oh, this is sweet. You can slide now. Ha! Dang, Fortnite has done a good job improving their movement, build mechanics. There's a reason why Fortnite's so popular. I just refreshed that, but we'll refresh it when we land again, but this has been impressive so far. You can bump other players by sliding into them. What's the screen laptop size? It's 17.3 inches on the display size. 16:9 aspect ratio. So the target to beat once we get landed is 291 FPS. All right. Sweet. This is a shotgun. This is also a shotgun. We got 2 shotguns. Let's go fishing. What did we get? We caught a fish. Yeah! Oh, snappers. Wow, so a fish gives us 40 shield. That's pretty sweet. I should not have shot that shot. Uh-oh. Yeah, sit down, son. Okay, I'm gonna wait in here for a minute. I think someone's about to come into. I only have 7 shots in my assault rifle now. This is not good. Okay, there's some more bullets. I hear a chest somewhere. There it is. Woohoo! We just upgraded a level. I'm hearing some shots over here, so I think it's coming from over here. I can kind of hear directional audio. Yeah! Okay. Let's go ahead and heal up. Wait, I don't think this is averaging anymore. I think it's stopped. I'm gonna start a new average. What does this thing do? This is cool. So what does this do? I'm capturing something. It's the faction. I'm not sure how the factions work in there now. But so basically the Scar 18 is getting slightly higher FPS, doing 291 in a similar area where we're doing 276. It's really a small difference. Ooh, oh, that shows you where all of the It shows you where all the remaining chests are that are not opened. That's pretty sweet. I don't know how good a chug splash is. I need someone to kill me so we can move on to the next game. I gotta say that in terms of how good this display looks playing at non-native resolutions, I can barely tell I'm at a non-native resolution, if I'm being honest. It's very, very clear. So if you ever needed to eventually, you know, lower the resolution for some reason in the future, I don't see that ever being a problem. Okay, so I guess... How many kills are we at? We're at 2 kills this round. I mean, maybe we should just move on to the next game. This shows us our performance. And I'm impressed. But it's not quite as good as what the Scar did. The Scar had a little higher performance. So we're going to go ahead and exit. All right. And next up is Watch Dogs Legion. All right, now this is a very interesting game because it had the highest power draw of any game for dual mode GPU CPU utilization. So I'm curious to see how Watch Dogs Legion does on this laptop versus the Scar 18. It could be quite interesting. Do you usually play without headphones? Does that affect your hearing? Yeah, I usually play with headphones, almost always. The Blade 18 has really good spatial audio though, so you may not need it with that laptop. The GT77 has okay-ish spatial audio. You can kind of hear people left, right, sides of you. And the Scar 18 and Strix G18, those have okay spatial audio. Kind of can hear left and right, but the way the Blade 16 and 18 have the spatial audio, it is much better, I think. Do you think that 4K is really that useful in 17.3-inch display, or is 2K enough to get the good crisp images? I would say 4K is overkill, and QHD Plus is excellent at 17 inches, 17, 18 inches. You don't really need to have this high of refresh rate, or sorry, resolution, because the additional pixels are pretty hard to tell that it's there. I think the only thing where I would say that you might be able to tell a difference is maybe in really high quality videos. So if you're like, if you're a video editor, I could see the advantage of going to 4K because you can see the full resolution of your 4K images that you got on your camera. If you need to see if there's noise in the image or any detail loss, or if things are out of focus or into focus, having 4K resolution is beneficial, I think, in that scenario. All right, so we're going to set everything to Ultra. And then we're going to turn Ray Tracing to Ultra. DLSS is going to be on Quality. So Ultra, DLSS on Quality, and Ray Tracing enabled. We are at 4K full screen. I'm just going to verify that everything took for our setting changes. Yep. We're going to run 4K, and then we're going to run QHD+. Anthony says, I wouldn't update the BIOS unless you have an issue with your computer. I only BIOS once to solve the brightness issue on the Titan. Interesting. I usually try to keep my BIOS up to date in general because it's almost always positive in my opinion, but sometimes BIOS updates do introduce odd behavior and bugs, but in general, I would say they tend to fix them more than cause them on average. So, and I have updated the BIOS on this laptop last week. So if there's any new BIOS since then, I haven't updated to that one, but I have updated this BIOS once. Niebuhr says, for pure gaming, we should never need more than 1440p in laptop screens. Unless GPUs become so powerful that they get bottlenecked at 1440p, that won't happen in a long time. We'll see. But in general, I tend to agree with you. I think the average human eyesight is not going to be capable of seeing any additional detail beyond 1440p on a 16 to 18-inch screen. And then at 13 inches, I think a 16 by 10 full HD screen is pretty close to the maximum what the eyes can see. So you don't even really need QHD at that resolution either. Okay, so wow. We're rocking 62 FPS on average there. 62 FPS average at 4K. DLSS on Quality. Impressive. So fully playable, smooth gameplay at 4K once again. Let's rock it with a reduction in resolution. We're going to go down to QHD Plus, and we're going to see what the SCAR did versus this as well. All the same settings still, DLSS on quality, ray tracing on ultra. Let's see what we get. The SCAR got 86. All right. So the SCAR got 86. Right now we're averaging 88. So, and look at our power draw. We're being CPU bottlenecked. Our GPU is only at 89% usage. And our CPU is pulling 95 watts. This is the highest I've seen so far from our CPU. 198 point, like basically 99 watts there. In the Asus Strix SCAR 18, we were pulling like 120, 130 watts in this game. So it's interesting. Oh, and look, we shifted to 100% GPU utilization, and now we're boosting our GPU wattage up to 175, and our CPU is pulling down to 75. So that's interesting. That's good optimization from the TDP switching with dynamic boost there. It's interesting how much less wattage this is pulling on the CPU compared to the SCAR 18. And we are pulling, even though we're CPU bound by at least a little bit, we're getting 88, 100% GPU utilization, 94, 95. You know, the CPU utilization is still very high in this one, and our overall FPS is higher. You know, 86 on the SCAR, 91 on the GT77 so far in the same test, same resolution, same settings. Let's see what we get for our overall average, but it looks like that's going to be a few higher here. We ended up with 90, so 4 more FPS on the GT77. Pretty dang interesting. All right. Let's switch over to Red Dead Redemption 2. We can close this, close that. All right, Red Dead Redemption 2. And let's see what we get. The SCAR 18 got like 97 point something. I believe we rounded it up to 98, actually. But it was like 97 point something. So at QHD+. We're going to do 4K, then we're going to do QHD+ and see what we get. Anthony says, don't update to the new BIOS. They limit the power limit more on the CPU for some reason. Anthony Lee, in what workload are they limiting the power limit? I'm curious. Are you talking about in CPU only loads, or are you talking about in dual loads inside of games? Oh, so Ala, I see a little bit ago asked, can you stream and play games at the same time with this laptop or the SCAR 18? Yeah, you totally could. But it still is probably going to affect your frame rate by at least a little bit. So you just got to expect a frame rate drop. Okay, so DLSS is off. Interesting that it applied it by default in this one. But I mean, if I was playing this game, obviously I would probably do DLSS on maximum, but okay. So here we are. Everything is set to ultra preset, 4K, 144 hertz. Let's run our test. See what we get. I have high hopes that we'll get at least 60 FPS. Native 4K in Red Dead 2, but maybe not. It may be too demanding. We'll see. CPU only Cinebench scoring lower now. Oh, interesting. What did they change the power limit to, Anthony, in the latest BIOS? Unable to connect to Rockstar Game Services. What is this? This happened on the GE78 as well. So we were unable to do Red Dead for that, and there was no way I could fix it. So apparently something's going on with the MSI Wi-Fi settings or something. It's probably blocking communication to the servers. Quitting Red Dead 2, and it won't even quit Red Dead. I noticed last time I had to end task on it. It's like, for some reason, it's not communicating. I don't know. It's weird. Okay, so our next game after Red Dead is God of War. Let's hop into that. Grip and Rip says, I just ordered the blade. Is the TTP limited on the Blade 18? Yeah, I mean, every laptop has a limit. The question is, what is the limit, you know? So, okay, so for graphics, we're on all Ultra preset. For our display, I think we have to do borderless. Yeah. So right now we're at 4K with no DLSS. We can run that. Let's see what we get with 4K, no DLSS, everything on Ultra. This is impressively smooth for full true 4K. It's obviously going to be fully playable. 7445 for our 4K. Let's slap on DLSS on quality mode and see what we get. And the details in the graphics in this game is incredible, especially at 4K. Just like looking at the little etching on his axe. I think you could see just a little more detail if you were to play this game in 4K. When you're like pixel peeping, you know, not a typical viewing distance, but. Okay, so here we are at 4K at quality mode. DLSS on quality. Let's see what we get. .92 FPS so far. So a nice increase to our FPS. And I would probably want to play this at 90 FPS if I was playing this game. So I would play this at 4K if I had this laptop. with DLSS on quality, it'd be perfect. It is so smooth and buttery looking right now. Okay, let's switch over to... I think we're going to have to change our native resolution of our laptop display to be able to do this test. 2560 by 1600. All right. So this is the test to match the SCAR 18. The SCAR 18, what did we get in the SCAR 18? Let's find out. 116. All right. We got 116 on the SCAR 18 in this test. We'll see how the GT77 does. All right, here we go. We're matching it pretty dang close. 119, it's climbing. Oh, we're getting some gains in this game versus the SCAR 18. Kaboom, 124. So we ended up with 8 more FPS in the GT77. Very nice. Very, very nice. Manny says, I have a weird problem. My GT Titan, or MSI Titan, every restart sends me to updates underway and it takes forever. Any idea? With every restart, maybe there's a update that's not completing. I would say try to go into your Windows updates and manually set it to complete. It's probably the best thing you can do. Like you just go into here, you go updates, click check for updates, manually check it, and then try to update your machine that way. Maybe it's not downloading correctly. Or maybe the download got corrupted. I don't know. It's another option. Okay, so after God of War, we're going to CSGO and then Hogwarts. So 4K, and then we're going to switch it over to QHD+. Okay, so and grip and rip, I do really like my Blade 18. I am enjoying it tremendously. Aside from the screen flickering issue that I'm running into, they really need to fix that. Other than that, I'm very happy with my experience so far with the Blade 18. Okay, so we are in... Well, let's go to our settings. Where are the settings at? There, we're here. Video. There we go. Okay. So we're at 4K. Full screen. Default settings on high. We need to enable developer console, and we need to do... net_graph 3. It's enabled down at the bottom down there, but you can barely see it. I don't know why. Okay, now it's coming up. This is coming up higher now, so that's good. I want to make sure you guys can at least see that, you know. I'll move my camera for this test. I'll move my camera. There we go. There we go. Okay. So just for this test, I'll move my camera over there, and we gotta tilt this over again. Huzzah. Okay. There we go. Benchmark is starting. So at 4K right now, we're doing over 300 frames per second in CSGO on high settings. In the 400 range, I'm guessing we're going to average in the 300 to 400 range for this. for our SCAR at QHD plus resolution, what did we get? So the SCAR 18 got 513 at QHD plus. So we're gonna have to see what this gets at QHD plus. How loud is this system? Is it tolerable? It's hard to tell on the camera. So, Tyler, if you set it to balanced mode, you're still going to have really good performance, but your temperatures are going to be higher. And overall, though, the performance on this is still going to be really good, and the loudness will not be that loud in balanced mode. It'll be moderate. I don't know how sensitive you are, but compared to most gaming laptops, it'll be below average sounding in balanced mode, and still provide good performance because it has 4 fans, so it doesn't have to run all 4 fans at a super high RPM to have reasonable levels of cooling. Where a laptop that only has, say, 2 fans, they have to run both fans at a higher RPM, and the higher RPMs is really where you generate a lot of the sound from. So, okay, so we ended up with 345.5 FPS. Obviously, very excellent, full screen, high levels of gameplay. So now we're going to do QHD plus, if we can. Okay, there we go. All right. It took a minute for it to load everything correctly, but it looks like it's all done correctly now. Now we'll see what we get. So the target to beat is 513, I believe. 513 QHD plus. Yep. So that's what the SCAR 18 got. So far, we're doing over 600, 700. Grip and Rip with the $10 super chat. Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate. Grip and Rip says, thanks for all the work you put into the reviews. Saved me time and a lot of money. No problem, dude. I'm so glad I can help you out. That's what I'm all about right now. That's really what my whole channel is about. The ethos behind it is I just want to help as many people as I can be able to make these decisions easier and with accurate data as much as they possibly can. So, yeah. Manny says, I currently have the Blade 18, SCAR 18, and GT77, and I'll stick with the Titan. The cooling and the temps are so superb, leaving so much room. The brightness is really crazy, and it got me legendary 3D mark scores. Yeah, I agree. I agree that the Titan is the highest performing of those 3, especially from the graphics, the GPU perspective. And I love the keyboard, and I really love the display on the Titan. Aside from the responsiveness, it's the best display of the 3. So it's and the build quality is really great. It's just a bit bulkier, so it's not something that's great for someone who wants something super portable. So, well, let's see what we get. So 513 was the number to beat, and we got 548. 548 with the GT77 Titan. So we got 35 more FPS on the Titan. All right. Impressive. All right, next up is Hogwarts Legacy. Woohoo! I love Hogwarts. I am 350 defense gear score with like 340 or something, 330 offense. So when I do like my ultimate now, it does like, sometimes I'm seeing like 12,000 damage or something when I do my ultimate. I just like one shot. Fairly powerful dudes. I think I'm in hard mode. I need to double check I'm in hard mode, but I'm just destroying people left and right now, and like not quite one-shotting people, but usually like 2 or 3 spells will kill someone now because I have such good gear. I have all 6 slots with triple upgrades and all legendary items now. Level 30. So I don't know how many levels there are in the game. It could still get a lot higher on the gear score. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm definitely well upgraded now. I'm about 34 hours into Hogwarts, and I'm still enjoying it, but it's not... I haven't been able to continue the story because I'm playing through the main story with Carla, which my girl. So we're watching it. She's watching the story with me. So we can't... I'm basically... She's too busy, and we're busy doing other stuff sometimes, so I can't use the... I can't play the main story, so I end up just like going around and upgrading and grinding out like all the camps and upgrading my stuff. So it's so far it's been super enjoyable. I don't think the game is going to last like hundreds or thousands of hours of gameplay for me, but there's so much to explore and so much to do in Hogwarts. So many side quests that are interesting. And the dialogue and characters are all still so well done, in my opinion. So, Manny says, "Oh yeah, the keyboard's a dream, and the blade has the best feel to it. I just want to carry it around all the time. Yeah, it feels awesome in your hands. I agree. Okay, so we need to make sure our settings are set correctly because I don't think our settings are set correctly. We are capped at 60. We don't want that. So." We're at 4K DLSS on quality. Frame generation is enabled. Everything's enabled here. We want to turn on ray tracing. So we're going to have to restart the game now. Dang, it takes a long time to restart this game, but we're going to do it anyway. It'll be worth the restart. So how is the stream looking and feeling, guys, since I've got the upgraded camera and I'm streaming off the Blade 18 right now too. So let me know. I just saw Jack's messages. He said, break more iPhones. LOL. Oh, I missed Niebuhr's comment too. I think MSI bends top 80-103 to the Titan. That's why it clocks a little bit higher. No, I think it has to do with increasing the power limits and putting more juice to the laptop in the back end. I think that's what both XMG and the Titan 77 are that way. And I think we'll probably see 1 or 2 others that are going to be like that too. The camera is not overheating anymore. Nope, because I got a new camera. It's the same. So the A7S III has a film version of the camera, and that's what this one is. It's the FX3. So it's got an active air cooling fan inside the camera to prevent overheating. So yeah, should not overheat anymore. The only and I also got I've got permanent power adapter plugs for both cameras now, so the batteries don't run out. The only thing that might run out is my microphones. The wireless mics may end up running out, or my lights also are battery powered, so those might run out too. So okay, so here we are. We're at 4K. DLSS is on quality. Ray tracing is enabled, and we're hitting over 60 frames per second. Our 1% lows, though, are pretty low, and we are getting some stutters. Oh, we're getting stutters? Do you know why? Our VRAM at 4K is getting maxed out. Look at that, 15.5 gigs on our VRAM. So if we want to be able to play this game stutter-free, you're going to need to go in here. You're going to need to go into our textures, and we'll set these on low. All right, so now our 1% lows are not at like 10 anymore, and it plays much less stuttering. 35 our 1% lows, 66 for our top percentage right now. Much better. Oh wow, this is very playable and very smooth. Hogwarts in 4K. Let's go. Obviously, with DLSS enabled, it's not native. But if you wanted to play native, you probably could if you turned off ray tracing. Wow. All right. Awesome. So 4K is certainly a playable option. We're going to go run through our benchmark in Hogsmeade. This is a very CPU demanding area of Hogwarts. Apollo says, hey, I just pre-ordered the Zephyrus Duo 16 with the RTX 4090. I don't recall you doing a video on it. Do you plan to review it, or am I blind? I value your input. So Apollo, Asus is sending me the Zephyrus Duo 16. It is, I believe, in the mail a couple days ago. And I think it's coming internationally, so it's going to take a few days for it to get here, or maybe in a week or two. So, okay, so here we are. We're going to do our run through at 4K, DLSS on, quality, frame generation on, ultra settings with ray tracing enabled. Here we go. So 80 FPS so far. Wow. Our CPU, we are CPU bound, only 83%, 90% on the GPU utilization, but still very good overall smoothness to this gameplay. 7233. 7233. That's pretty dang good for a 4K gaming experience. Manny Gaming with the €10 donation. He says, you're doing an awesome job here, man. Having so much gain personally from those streams. Here's a little support and great studio upgrades. Thanks, dude. That helps pay for those studio upgrades. The camera was like $4,300. So I need to sell my old camera now. It's like a $3,500 camera. I hope I can get at least $3,000 for it. So anyway, I appreciate the support. It really does mean a lot because this is not cheap. And Manny and Grip and Rip, you might want to consider becoming members. If you're going to donate regularly, you could become a member. It's $5 a month. It's kind of like a Patreon support. And then you'll also have potential opportunities to buy review laptops that I sell, and I'll sign the bottom of the laptop with a like metallic Sharpie pencil for people who are interested in that, at least. Okay, so we're going to drop our resolution now. Well, let's try turning off DLSS. I can't turn off ray tracing though, so that's almost no point. I don't know. Let's leave DLSS on quality. Yeah, we'll leave it on quality. Okay, but we do want to change our resolution. We want to go down to our QHD plus resolution. Okay. And looks like we're going to have to restart Hogwarts, which is kind of a shame. Grip and Rep became a new member. Nice. Thanks, dude. Appreciate the support. Niebuhr says you may want to add Metro Exodus as a benchmark for that beautiful RTG. Interesting. Yeah, a lot of people do benchmark Metro Exodus. I'm not against potentially adding it. I don't think I own it on my test account, though. Yeah, I don't currently have that in my game list, but it's something to consider for sure. One of the top ones. Oh, and Manny became a member too. Sweet, guys. So, for just in case you do decide you want to become a member and you want to potentially buy one of the laptop review units, if you pop over to the community tab, there should be a community post that's only for community members that has a link for applying to the review unit buyback program. You guys obviously already have your laptops that you bought, so you don't, obviously you don't maybe need to do that. If you just want to become a member and support me, that's totally fine. I really appreciate the support, guys. But there is an option to sign up for that in case you are in the market for a laptop in the future. So, what do you think about the new SCAR 17 with the Ryzen chip? Any plans to test it soon? Yes, I have ordered it. It has not shipped yet. I don't know when it's going to actually get here, but it is on my list of test units. that should arrive sometime this month. So before the end of March, I would expect the SCAR 17 tests to happen. And the SCAR 17 is honestly one of the top laptops I'm considering as an alternative to my Blade 18. So kind of interesting. Why is our FPS so low? It should be a little higher than that. Uncapped DLSS on quality, windowed full screen, ultra ray tracing. Maybe it's just loading in. I don't know. Let's see here. In Hogwarts, the SCAR 18 got 112.10. Let me see how I tested that, though. I want to make sure I tested it correctly.
This is a game that has a through quality. Frame generation is enabled.
Yep, and frame
we
generation
do have
is
RTX
on.
generation is enabled. DLSS on quality.
Yeah, so those are the same settings. And let me see this.
Right now, let's. I wonder, are we even being VRAM limited right now? Let's try turning our textures on low. Let's just see.
Oh, textures is on low.
Let's try running. Let's try running that again. That's what the RAM right now is at 9 gig. We're running out a couple 370.
So it got 93. Hogwarts got 93 in the same test. Let's see what we get. 93 for this section. All right. So right now, I also like the biggest thing is that we're being so CPU bound. 54% GPU utilization. It's terrible. So this is a very CPU centric test right here. And our CPU wattage is so much lower than what the SCAR did. The SCAR was doing like over 100 watts through here. And so we got 7843. And the SCAR in the same test was doing like 100 to 120 watts. So that shows you that at QHD Plus, being so CPU bound, being able to boost your CPU to a much higher wattage is going to give you a lot more FPS gains in this title in particular, which is really interesting. So 78 versus 93. So the SCAR 18 wins this little battle. Now, if you were to pop out of this area of the map and we were to go to like a less NPC-centric part of the map, like let's say out into the Wildlands up here to the north, I think the FPS would become much more competitive between the SCAR and this laptop. But let's see. Let's see if our GPU utilization goes up a lot. It's climbing up, 73% utilization, 76% utilization. It's still not reaching 100% utilization. We're still being CPU bound here, but our FPS is jumping up dramatically up to 110. So, yeah. So this is a game where, at least on these settings, you either want higher CPU wattages like in the SCAR, or you want to play at a higher resolution. The 4K resolution is going to definitely utilize a higher percentage of the GPU. So, interesting. Very interesting results. And that really shows you how different manufacturers tune their laptops differently can affect your in-game experience. And I would encourage MSI to consider raising the power limit to be higher in a dual load, because this is a game that could definitely benefit from a higher CPU TDP. And this laptop could certainly go to a higher CPU limit at the same time, because we're only seeing like our CPU is not going that high in temps. So yeah. Hey Gizmo Tech, I am now sitting on my Blade 16 with mini LED 4K with the 4090, and I think that's my laptop to keep for the year. Nice, dude. That's pretty awesome, huh? Are you enjoying it? The wrist rest not getting too hot for you? Okay, so back to 4K resolution. And our next game is Control. All right, so we're going to run through Control. Looks like we need to download and install. We're going to download and install a update here, and then we'll be able to pop in there, run down a hallway. And then we have Apex Legends, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Witcher 3, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider coming in for our last 5 games. And then what we're going to do is we're going to be comparing side-by-side performance with the Scar 18 versus the GT77 Titan in an upcoming benchmark battle review comparison. Hopefully within the next 3 or 4 or 5 days. It does take a while to edit down. And it's a multi-phase edit because we got to line everything up, and then I got to do an intro. I got to create graphs. I got to put everything together, and then I got to film a voiceover for everything, and slap that all together. So it's going to be a little while. Does the lower RAM speed slow that thing down? So, grip and rip. It's going to be interesting to see what we get in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, because that's a memory-sensitive game. So, and the Scar 18 has faster memory than this one. It's 4,800 on the Scar 18. This one's 4,000. So, Shadow of the Tomb Raider is going to be one of those games where we're going to maybe see that performance difference. Also, esports games like Fortnite might see the performance difference. Like, that might be the reason why we end up only getting like 275 frames per second in the same area, versus the Scar 18 got 291 in the same area. So I think that's pretty likely that the memory speed affects those CPU sensitive and memory sensitive games. But typically speaking, I wouldn't expect too much of a difference. Hogwarts Legacy might be memory sensitive as well, especially given how memory intensive it is. It wants to suck up a lot of memory. So would not be surprised. Matthias Bossman says, is it okay? It is okay when I use it on the road as a laptop. The temp is okay at the wrist rest, and the office at home temp, I use it most of the time on an external display, keyboard and mouse. Yeah, the Blade 16 is, as long as you're not utilizing it all the time, like in your lap with full temps, or your wrist is on the wrist rest all the time with full temps. I don't know, unless you're in a cold environment, like if you're in a nice AC environment all the time, it's going to be okay. You know, it's not going to be a problem. But like the Blade 16 wrist rest gets the warmest out of all the laptops I've tested so far. So it would annoy me personally because it gets really, I think, a little too hot for me. I get uncomfortable. But I am also in kind of a warmish room. So, because I have a lot of electronics running in this room, so the heat kind of builds up in this room a little bit more than what it would be in most other rooms. But the Blade 18 does not quite get as warm. It does get warm though. It's just not as warm. It's like, I don't know, half as warm. It's definitely noticeably cooler. But the Blade 16 is so much more portable. It's a much smaller overall size. Oh. You take a keyboard with you, Matthias, when you're on the road? Really? Interesting. Huh. What would be the best 16-inch laptop to get this year with a RTX 4080? I would probably lean towards the Scar 16 or maybe the Legion Pro 7i for 16-inch being some of the top. Which other ones? I mean, the Blade 16 is obviously a contender as well. Regardless of pricing, at least, those are pretty good. If you want the best bang for the buck, I'd probably go for like Strix G16 with an RTX 4080. That should be like $2,300, $2,400 when that becomes available. That would be an excellent bang for the buck. Other 16-inch chassis. We can pop over to the laptop list here. Let me make sure that everything's... While we're waiting to update, let's just go over what are the best competitors to the GT77. All right, so So for those of you who have never seen this, let's talk about this laptop list. So this laptop list is designed to be a comprehensive list of every single laptop you can buy with an RTX 4000 series. Now, if you're looking at the top 16-inch laptops, what you can do is you can filter the display quality or the display size down here. Where is it at? Display size. Here it is. So I'm going to go 16. And I'm going to do 16 point. I'm just going to do 16, 16. Okay. So only 16-inch laptops are being displayed now. Now, if I were to sort this by lowest, if I were to just sort this by, like, say, top rated, then I'd be able to just be like right here, bam, Strix G16, Scar 16, Blade 16, Alienware M16, Legion Pro 7i, Asus TUF A16, the Legion Pro 5, Asus Flow X16, Zephyrus M16, XMG Neo 16. Yeah, those are all the top 16-inch laptops for sure. And in terms of what my top pick would be, it would probably be the Strix G16 right now, Scar 16, Blade 16, M16, or Legion Pro 7. My number one pick is probably the Scar 16. That's probably my number one pick. And if you want the best bang for the buck in that category, it's probably the $28.99. So, yeah, I think that would be my top pick. Let's talk about GT77 competitors, though. All right, so if I were to change the screen size down here, and we go all the way up to 18 inches, and we go, let's do 17 and 18-inch laptops. This is where things can kind of get interesting. The Strix G18 is fantastic bang for the buck, much better bang for the buck than the GT77. Alienware M18 is looking pretty juicy, and the GE78 is probably the biggest competitor to the GT77, quite frankly. I'm really impressed with the GE78 overall, and if I was picking between the GT77 and the GE78, I would probably lean towards picking the GE78 now, after having both in hand, simply because of pricing. Like, if price matters, like, you're getting better bang for the buck with the GE78. You're still getting very high levels of performance. It's higher temperatures in games, and no mechanical keyboard, and the display is not even close to as good. But it's QHD 240 hertz, which is better for my esports. So esports gamers would definitely want the GE78 instead. Yeah. So, and the webcam is better on the GE78 as well. The Aorus 17X is also an interesting option. Very good bang for the buck with the 4090 at $34.99, comparatively speaking. And a lot of positive reviews from users who have gotten this so far, with good temperatures and great performance overall. I would certainly say the Aorus 17X and the Razer Blade 18. The Blade 18 is the laptop of choice for me so far this year for what I'm going to be using. So the Blade 18 is the kind of laptop that's going to be the most portable big screen device, very thin, and still very high levels of performance. And I think it's a great combination of performance and power with great screen quality. The Scar 17 is interesting because it's got the Ryzen 9 7945HX CPU, which is the Dragon Range CPU. It's 16 cores, 16 big fat cores, full performance cores, 32 threads, so the same threads as the i9. The display is not going to be nearly as good, though. It's 16:9 and only 300 nits, which is going to be sad. It's going to be making me a sad panda probably when I look at it, but still, it's going to be a good quality display. That's still a good quality display in my opinion. Only 4800 on the RAM speed. So, and that's where the Blade 18 gets an advantage. It's 5600, which is faster than most of these other laptops in the memory speed. So esports games, again, benefit from faster memory speed, and certain single-player games like Shadow of the Tomb Raider can see benefits from faster memory speed. If you want the fastest memory speed, the XMG Neo 17 goes up to 6400 on the RAM. It's 5600 by default, but you can pay for the upgrade on the 6400. So
The Neo 17 also has liquid cooling, which is pretty freaking sweet. Awesome option. Omen 17 is also interesting this year because it's the most reasonably priced 4090 at $2749 for a 4090. It's really well priced, and it's poised to outcompete other laptops for like the highest GPU performance per dollar, even if it's a cheaper overall build, in my opinion, and an overall lower features. Like you're only getting a full HD display with an RTX 4090, which is really not ideal, right? Ideally, you're gonna want to get like a QHD or a 4K display with a 4090, but maybe you're planning to use an external display mainly with the laptop, and the full HD display is still a decent display. It's like a good color quality display. It seems like it's like 300 something nits with 100% sRGB coverage. So you're not gonna have a terrible display like you do with like the Katana 15 or like just like a bad display in general, like low brightness and low color gamut. You're not getting that. You're at least getting a decent quality display. And you can get a QHD 165 hertz 300 nits display for like an upgrade. I think it was like $60 more or something. So you can also configure it with that. And I think that would be worth it. Okay, so it looks like Control is ready to go. I think that covers pretty much all the competitors right now for the GT77 Titan. I don't think I missed any, but I might have. Let me check chat, see if you guys had any questions on that. Okay, so hopping over into Control. I wonder why in the world MSI didn't go with liquid metal. They put so much effort into making the most powerful cooling solution, and then they save a few bucks on the conductor. Seems weird, right? Well, I think I agree with you. But at the same time, we can see that the temps are just awesome on this. I think where I wish they used liquid metal was the CPU. That's where I wish that we have liquid metal. That's the most awkward part of, because the GPU temps are obviously insanely good. I literally cannot complain about the GPU temps in this laptop. It's like never goes above 65. So I don't think the GPU even needs liquid metal. It's just the CPU. Okay, so right now what we're gonna do, we're running at full screen with NVIDIA DLSS, upscaling from 1440p, which is DLSS on quality. We want to use the high preset, so everything is maxed. All right. And we want to put ray tracing on high as well. Shabam, all of that is looking good. We're going to continue our game. Looks like I need to turn down the brightness of the display a little bit. There we go. All right, so we are running this way. All right, so this is 4K with DLSS basically. All right, so we're gonna run from this hallway to the front, and that's our like test run for this game. Okay. 75 FPS at 4K DLSS on quality. $77. So 4K is definitely going to be playable, though in a game like this, an action game, I would probably shoot for 90. So I would probably turn this down a little bit.
We need to change our resolution of the display so we can do this test. All right, and we need 2560 by 1600. It is messing up on us now, so we're gonna need to restart control and reset the settings. JCO says, hey Gizmo, is this laptop coming with a mouse and keychain when you unboxed it? No, I don't think so. But maybe depending on the pre-order package you get. I got this as a review unit, so my unboxing was not your typical unboxing experience. I know sometimes the GT77 comes with a backpack even. So, I don't know, other people in the chat, when you ordered your GT77, did you get anything with it? Okay, so we are on, DLSS is on quality. All the other presets are still on with ray tracing on high. Okay. Yeah, it's crazy. The temps outperform pretty much anything, even without liquid metal. That wouldn't have stopped me from putting a few more dollars into near perfection. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? So if they had... Whoa. What did we get with the Scar 18? Let's see what we got with the Scar 18. Scar 18 in control. Scar 18 in control. It got 125. Why is it so low? I'm checking the Scar 18 live stream section to make sure that everything is set the same way. Yeah, everything is set.
So this is basically
the same
DLSS on
way.
You?
I'm gonna see what our wattage pull. So our wattage pull is between.
I'm just gonna run it. So this
70.
Okay.
Running through here.
All right, and we'll
I
stop
got
right here.
124.
Are not great.
Interesting. We're definitely not getting as high of wattage. I wonder if this is a very memory sensitive game or something, or if our option, the way we're displaying this is not good, or anything else. I don't know. This is interesting. The performance is not nearly as high in this game on the GT77 for some reason. But our GPU utilization is not very high, which means we're running into CPU bottlenecking, maybe memory bottlenecking. Yeah, GPU utilization is only 68%, 60%. So I don't know why that is, because we are getting 53 watts on the CPU. The Scar 18 did like 60 to 70 watts on the CPU, so there's that. But it's like it's not even trying to use, because we saw a lot more wattage utilization on the CPU before. So maybe this is a memory issue. Like our memory is bottlenecking the game right now. I don't know. Because we do have the slowest memory speed in this laptop at 4,000. So it'll be interesting to see what the Blade 18 does in this game with the 5600 memory. Okay, so running through control. $79.33. Ooh, interesting. I think the new NVIDIA drivers limit the power. Interesting, Britt. So it is a different driver that we tested it with. And yeah, our GPU utilization, something is going on in this game. I almost don't want to use this in the benchmark comparison, but because something is going on that's messing with the performance. But yeah, it's a lot less performance on this laptop for some reason. We don't know why. We don't know exactly. We would need to try changing things. Maybe try if we wanted to try to solve it, we would probably try swapping out the RAM for faster RAM. We would try maybe trying different BIOSes from MSI. We maybe try different drivers from NVIDIA. Any of those things could, in theory, be causing this. But yeah, 124, I think, FPS for the Scar 18 in that game. So we got a lot better GPU utilization in Control in the Scar 18 for some reason. We don't know exactly why. All right. Next game for today is Apex Legends. Let's go. Oh, we got to change the resolution. So we have 4 games left. Flight Simulator, Witcher 3, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I would love to see the 5600 of the Blade in the same test. Yeah, me too. I would really like to see that as well. Because I don't know if Control is that memory sensitive. It might be very memory sensitive. I'm learning more and more about these games because all of these, typically speaking, in the previous generation of laptops, we saw DDR4 3200 RAM on basically everything. And this year we're having such huge diversity. We're still seeing DDR4 3200 on some laptops. And then we're seeing up to literally double at 6400 on the XMG Neo. So, I mean, it's so dang different. Let me switch my Legend to Pathfinder. Cool. All right. And I just want to say once again, the display brightness on this laptop is it's amazing. It's such a vibrant display. I absolutely love it. We're getting frame cap to 144. We're going to need to set our FPS limit plus FPS underscore limit. Max to 300. Okay. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what we can get. I'm doing 4K on high, and then we're going to do 4K on low, and then we're going to do QHD on low. Obviously, we're going to be able to get more than 144 FPS, I think, at 4K, but maybe not. I think we will, though. Native, so everything's on high. We don't want any VSync. How does 2K look on this display compared to a native 2K display? So Scott, I will say that when I play this thing at lower resolution, it still looks really good. Especially if you're using the correct aspect ratio, Like, if you don't use the correct aspect ratio, then maybe not, But, okay, so the goal here is 144 FPS if we can get it. This is on high. Well, I have my... This is set way too high. I've got someone in here in this match with me right now. Man, Apex, I really wish you would not do this. I feel bad because this guy's not going to be able to pick up any guns or do anything. So we're hitting 152 at 4K on high settings. Let's set everything to low, except for textures. All right, so 4K at 144 hertz. Here we go. Seems a little bit more responsive, but it's honestly, it's hard to tell a difference. It's obviously very good performance, and you could definitely play this at 4K, the full resolution, without a doubt. So okay, so let's switch our settings down to 16 by 10. All right, so now here we are. We're just going to be getting 300 FPS nonstop. That's a really good sign. I'm just gonna try to get like, 20 seconds of this footage. I'm definitely getting more accustomed to this display. In terms of its response rate, but it just has a little bit more ghosting, in my opinion, than what a 240 hertz display has, especially at a game like Apex. It's very subtle, but it's definitely there for me. Okay, checking chat. Do you actually feel the screen delay on the MSI? If you didn't know it was there, yeah, I do. I can tell. I'm an Apex Predator player in Apex Legends, and I can tell. There is a tiny delay. I think most esports players may not even notice, but people who are very sensitive to it would be able to tell. And it's largely in the fact that it's a 144 hertz display. It won't ever be able to be as fast as a QHD 240 hertz display. And then Notebook Check did a actual latency test of the display's latency, and I believe it was like 20 millisecond latency or something like that. So it was in that ballpark. So there is an increased latency to it. That's the thing. So it's not just in my head or super sensitive. There is a slight delay that's not there with QHD displays. So the QHD displays are going to have, anywhere from 3 to maybe 7 millisecond response delays. So it's not a huge difference, but for an esports title gamer that mainly plays esports, that's where I would say it's better to go for a QHD 240 hertz display. Does the response rate change? No, I don't think so. I don't think that the response rate is going to improve with lowering the resolution, unfortunately. It almost never does. And maybe it would, but I really don't think so. Okay, so we're gonna just try to pop in here, get a few kills if we can. I need to change a few more settings. That's good, and I gotta change auto sprint to on. Okay. I can't tell exactly where people are here, but I can tell there's people underneath me, so I'm gonna try to drop down and... There's one. Oh, he got me. He was able, like I said, that was a teammate. So we're hitting like 300 FPS pretty much nonstop here. That's really good. Obviously, we only need to go for 144. So if you want to play this game on ultra settings, you can play this game on ultra settings and still hit at least the 144 refresh rate. Ooh, almost got him. Needed one more headshot. Do we know how that Ryzen is going to perform? The Ryzen 7945 HX, we're just getting the first benchmarks. The first one I saw today. In multi-core Cinebench R23, it was doing 34,000, which is really great. Oh, it's a Crabe. You know we got to take the Crabe. So multi-core is really good, but it looked like gaming performance was a little bit lower. I don't think the tests were done that well, honestly. So I'm hoping that we'll see better tests in the future. This thing is so lumbering. Yeah! Stole that kill.
It's go time.
The Kraber's a heavy gun, so it's hard to move with it. I probably should not be dropping down here. Yee, we're having some fun here. Is that the same Wraith again? Ah, no, we're gonna lose our Kraber. No. Okay, all right, so that was some good shots. I enjoyed the gameplay. I mean, you can obviously play games really well with this laptop too. It's just not going to quite be as good, you know, as what you'd get with a QHD 240 hertz, you know? It can obviously push out some really great frames, and if you really want to have your esports experience, you could use an external monitor to get that ultra high level of performance. All right, so we're going into Flight Simulator now. We're going to see what we get taking off from Portland Airport, Portland, Oregon, PDX. Antonio Jackson says, holy crap, those frames. I missed some of the stream, but wow, yeah, it was really great performance here in Apex Legends, that's for sure. The temps are getting scary. They're getting up to 80 now. Well, that's like the highest we've seen. They hardly ever go above that. Yeah, I don't know if the Ryzen chips can undervolt, Manny. In the past, and certain generations they have been able to, and other ones they've not been able to. So I'm anticipating probably no undervolting is my guess. So I hope we can do this test. It should have done an update. We should be good, but if it has to do an update, we will not be able to sit through an update because Flight Simulator can take like an hour to do an update. I'm gonna give it 2 minutes to update. Ryzen chips come undervolted already, basically. Well, the thing is, so WebWorks is the 64 gig. The Ryzen chips, I don't know, why would you say they come undervolted, basically? I guess we explain what you mean, Manny. I don't think they do. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on the Scar 17 with the Ryzen 9 7945. It's on pre-order on Newegg. That's where I bought it, Michael, too. And if you do buy it, I would encourage you to use the link on my laptop list before you actually buy it. If you want to help support me as a content creator, it'll help. David says, hi, and Tarkov? We're not doing Tarkov today, unfortunately. There's the list of games we've tested up on the corner or whatever. So if you want to see in roughly the same order, you can check that. It looks like we are not going to be able to Flight Simulator because it's not loading. That's a shame. Moving on to The Witcher 3. Tarkov runs like crap on every system. Played on my Blade and also MSI. They all run equally bad. What kind of FPS are you getting in Tarkov? I'm curious. That's a fairly competitive like shooter with MMO aspects, right? I've heard the game is really fun. I've never played it. It's a game I've almost bought, but it's not on Steam, so I end up not buying it. I don't know. Michael says, hell yeah, I'll use your code. Yeah, I've got the Scar 17 coming in. So if you want to see what it's like, I'll be testing it for you as well. So I don't know. I ordered it a couple weeks ago. It's still taking forever to come in. I don't know why The Witcher 3 didn't load the first time. Tarkov is on its beta. Dude, it's been on beta, what, for 4 years? That's not beta, my friend. That is, I would not call that beta. I mean, is it 4 years? It's probably 2 years. I don't know. It's been out a long time, right? I hear it's a fun game, though. That's the key thing, right? You just want your games to be fun. Weird. The Witcher 3 does not want to load. Why doesn't The Witcher 3 want to load? I'd really like The Witcher 3 to load. It acts like it's going to load. It acts like it's going to load, and then it doesn't load. Let's do a quick system restart and see if that fixes it. Yeah, Tarkov has been out for 5 years. Newegg has release date on March 6th. Yeah, so it should be shipping soon, right? Shopping Center Interchange has the worst optimized map. Runs terribly at 50-60 FPS. Oh, lots of AI. Interesting. Other maps go to 100 FPS, so it's playable. It's been 7 years in the alpha and beta now. Wow. That is crazy. Yeah, so we have Witcher 3 and Shadow of the Tomb Raider left. Those are the last two. I am here. Red Dead said it was running. It wasn't actually running. Ever since I loaded it out into it, it's been like that for the last several games. It wasn't actually running though. Steam just thought it was. I ended the task on it. Okay. Come on, Witcher 3. Let's see you load. Hey, that's more than what we got last time. Oh, wait, that's just SteelSeries. No, The Witcher 3 is not interested in playing the game. Last attempt, and maybe it's this new driver. It doesn't like the driver. That'd be my guess. All right. So that's not going to work. Let's go ahead and load into Shadow of the Tomb Raider then. We're doing the best we can with what we got. So we're going to do exclusive full screen, 4K, DLSS on quality, 144 hertz, refresh rate. Graphics preset is highest ray tracing on ultra. So maximum max settings, guys. Maximum max settings. Let's do it. Antonio says, I wonder if we'll see any more water-cooled laptops. It would be cool to see some competitors with XMG. I would love that. I'm very curious to see that. I would love to see... I don't know. I would love to see like a really great high-quality docking station with liquid cooler that has DisplayPort 1.4 integrated into it or something. I don't know. So you plug in the water cooler and it plugs into a Thunderbolt 4 port at the same time or something, and then you get your keyboard, mouse, everything all plugged in with one plug-in. That'd be pretty sweet. Okay. Yeah, we should be good, I think. All right, here we go. All right, so we're going to do this one twice. We're going to do 4K. We're going to do it at 4K and DLSS on quality, ray tracing on ultra, and then we're going to drop it down to QHD plus, and we're going to see what the Scar. We're going to compare it versus what the Scar 18 got. And just checking what the Scar 18 got. Scar 18 got 151 in QHD plus. Manny says, gotta go. Great hanging out with y'all. Until next time. All right, see you, Manny. Thanks for becoming a member again, and thanks, Grip and Rip as well. Roll back the driver. Anthony, we don't have time for that. I know a lot of people want to see Witcher 3, but don't have time for that right now. I need to end the live stream here soon, so. Brett says, I don't like the driver. Yeah, I don't. The Witcher 3 didn't work, and Red Dead 2 didn't work, but that's, I think, because of MSI software or something. Are you going to stream tomorrow? Britt, I think I'm going to try to stream tomorrow the Gigabyte G5 with the RTX 4060. That's my target for tomorrow. I'm torn between the GT77 and the Scar 18. So WebWorks, we're going to be doing a side-by-side benchmark comparison review coming up in a few days here. So I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be released, but I would assume within the next week or two. Should be done. So if you're waiting to buy, you could wait to buy until then. I just refreshed the average at the start of this one. Wow, 4K, and we're above the 144 hertz refresh rate, at least in this section. With ray tracing enabled, DLSS on quality. So, WebWorks, what would you say are the greatest things attracting you to the Scar 18 versus the GT77? What's attracting you to the GT77? I'm just curious. Hear what your thoughts are. What's up, Joho? Should I call you Sosa? Sousa? I don't know. Paulo? I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to mess up your first name. Joao? I don't know. I think I'll call you Sosa. But what's up? Welcome to the live stream. So now we're averaging 120. So I'm curious what we got overall, the way Shadow of the Tomb Raider calculates it. So 4K 108 Impressive. All right, so we're going to drop our resolution. 2560 by 1600. Yes. Everything else is good. 151 is the number to beat from the SCAR 18 on this benchmark. So we'll see. It's crazy how good the new 4000 series is. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Okay, well, the GT77 is starting out strong at 167. So maybe the memory speed won't affect it as much as we're thinking. We don't know. I mean, this benchmark does go down and up quite a lot during its initial phases. Like it starts out kind of fast, then it slows down, then it goes fast again. So, but this is definitely a more memory sensitive benchmark, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So I'm curious to see. Mainly, I'm curious to see, does the memory speed difference in the GT77 with 4000 cause it to score lower than the 4800 memory in the SCAR 18? Now, I mean, there's obviously memory timings and latency that can affect things beyond just the clock speed. So, yeah, we'll see. Lovework says, I love the look of the SCAR, and you can't go wrong with Asus from what I can understand. Yeah, the SCAR 18 certainly has a lot of high-quality improvements this year. But yeah, the SCAR 18 has got a really cool look to it with all the RGB on it. If you enjoy RGB, I like the implementation of the RGB better on the SCAR than on the GT77. Okay. Here we are. Wow. QHD is doing 287 now. Almost 300 frames per second. What USB speaker would you buy for better separation, like audio separation? I mean, if you want better audio separation, I would say just use headphones. That's like the way to go. Sosa says, it's crazy how laptops have become these days after they were toasters in the past. Well, this laptop is the best cooling we've seen in any laptop so far. For sure, our temps are basically have almost never gone above 80 on the CPU or GPU, and that's the CPU, and then the GPU almost never goes above 70. And usually they're in like the mid to low 60s. In most games, or even in the 50s in some games. So, I mean, it is very insane on the temps. Kareem says, anyone know what online work I can do to make money to buy one of these expensive laptops? Get a skill set, man. Coding, website development, graphical design. Pick a skill set and master it. That's the way to go. Looks like the RAM didn't affect it that much, huh? Well, the RAM does affect it, but we'll have to see. So 169. Wow, that really beat the SCAR 18. 151 to 169. That is the biggest improvement I think we've seen. Let me just double check the settings because that's a huge gap. 2560 by 1600. DLSS is on quality. Oh my goodness. That's like a 17% improvement or something. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, RAM does affect things. Maybe the RAM timings are tighter on the GT77 or something else going on there. Okay. So, quick summary of the benchmarking results for the GT77. And when I do this, I'm going to go ahead and turn the fans off so we can have a little better sound. All right. So, let me hold this bad boy up during this overview. This fan's not turning off yet. Okay, so to summarize the GT77, we saw it trading blows back and forth with the SCAR 18. This thing obviously had better CPU performance, but then the Scar 18 had faster disk speed. We saw it trade blows in different games with games that had needing higher levels of CPU TDP, pushing out even higher levels of frames per second, usually in the Scar. But then sometimes we saw big gains in certain games, like Dead Space. For some reason, we got like 10 more FPS, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, we got it was 18 or 17 more FPS. It's some big differences in certain titles. Overall, I think the GT77 won, but I need to add everything up and average it. Overall, obviously some fantastic performance. 4K gaming, 100% possible, especially if you use DLSS on quality, or you're willing to use even DLSS on like balanced or performance mode. You're going to start pushing the frame rate up towards that 144 hertz resolution refresh rate. So for ultra high FPS gaming, even at 4K, is possible with the right mix of settings. So overall, I'm impressed with this machine. I wish we could push higher TDPs in certain CPU-bound games. Like MSI has oddly limited the CPU TDP down to like 75 or 80. The highest we saw, I think, was like 100 in Watchdog Legions. But in the Asus laptops, we were seeing like 120. So pretty much in all of the titles, we were seeing 20 to 30 to 40 TDP lower than what we saw on the Scar 18. But despite that, in some of the games, we saw higher FPS in the GT77, which is completely opposite of what you would expect. So I think something's going on with the way the TDP is being recorded. And I can't wait to see, as we line up all of these final averages side by side, create graphs, and put them all side by side and see the actual performance. So there'll be a split screen benchmark comparison coming up in the near future. So be sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss out on that. Let me check chat one more time. Have you picked your laptop for this year yet? So WebWorks, I'm starting with the Blade 18, but I'm going to keep my mind open. Currently, I'm live streaming from the Blade 18, and I have moved my two 8 terabyte drives into the Blade 18. No problem. They can take double-sided drives without an issue. Yeah. So, shabam, shaboom. Let us end the live stream here. Thank you so much, everyone, for stopping by. Thank you to everyone that donated and became a member today. Grip and Rip and Manny Gaming. Congratulations, guys. You guys are now in the cool club with everyone else. So, shabam. Shibuya. Nah, nah.